case for both the Royals and the Guardians that there might be some regression to the mean. Doesn't mean then that they're going to play 8 games under 500 the rest of the way, where we looked at it and said, I looked at it and thought, 77 and 85. That was the prediction I gave for this Royals team, 77 and 85. That would now be a disappointment. If they're 77 and 85, they would have to play 11 games under 500 the rest of the way. So actually the 7 games over, so that wouldn't just be 4 games under. That would be 8 games. 4 games away from 81 would be 77, but you get the point.
It'd be brutal.
They'd have to play 15 games under 500 essentially the rest of the way. It would be brutal if they got to 77. That would be a disappointment, and that's what the expectations have. That's what's happened through these first 45 games that they have played. And the question remains still, with the offense of the Royals, can the team continue pitching the way that they have? Can you continue to rely on that where it feels like there's a tightrope almost every night of how do you scratch across a few runs to try to find a way to win that game and bank on your starter going out there and being really good each and every time out. And if they fail, it's like a waving of the white flag to a degree of, well, get them tomorrow. See if you can save some guys in the bullpen, throw some mop-up guys and low-leverage players and go out there and give it the try tomorrow. It is this this feeling of like any inning that the starting staff or bullpen gives up a crooked number, you just feel like it's going to be really tough to overcome that. The Velazquez 3-run home run was huge because they were only down 1.
Yeah.
If they were down 5, the 3-run home run would have been cool, but not enough. The Royals get the bases loaded with Bobby Witt yesterday and a huge opportunity and essentially can't come through. They score 1 run on a sacrifice fly and then a couple of outs after that.
Vinny. That's
that
a
was
hanging slider.
Yeah. It's hanging slider that he hung straight up.
Oh.
That was unfortunate.
And then we've seen Salvi come through
yes,
in that
so many
situation all season long. And then that one slider he swung at that was in the dirt.
Yeah.
You're just, and I get it. Maybe you're pressing at that point. You're trying to. He's batting what, like 462 with runners in the scoring position. I'm not even being hyperbolic right now.
No,
it's like 462 with the runners in the scoring position and trying to pick up Vinny, and that was just.
It was rough, and it's one of the things that I do want to talk about. Alec Marsh was good yesterday, but I want to talk about some of the things that we're seeing with this Royals team. We talked about what their record was in 1-run games, what their record is in games that are decided by 3 runs or fewer, and comparing that to last year and wondering, especially those 1-run game, that record for 1-run games wasn't stellar. In fact, last time we looked at it, they were under 500. They were 6 and 7 in those games. So we looked at it and said, hey, there's nothing fluky in terms of them winning a bunch of 1-run games. But there are some things to look at to wonder if there will be a regression to the mean with the wins and losses based on how we've seen this team get to 7 games over 500 if something doesn't change quickly.
I really thought last night was a Royals fan nightmare. Now, I get what you're saying. Sterling lost by 2. Marsh pitched great. I'm saying nightmare as in this is what I think a lot of us expected to happen during, or at least before the season started. Great starting pitching. Even, again, from a guy like Alec Marsh, he was up and down, but 2 runs, 1 earned because of the Frazier error, in 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. You're taking that all day long. So your starter gets it done. Your bullpen is fine to below average in this one, right? That's a 4.5 ERA, 2 runs in 4 innings. Not great. Could be worse. But the offense just is so damn inconsistent. And this is why I say this is a Royals nightmare, because this is what I think the majority of fans expected going into this year. This is what I expected was great starting pitching, a average to above average bullpen for the majority of the year, and then an offense that is just so inconsistent. You have Bobby Witt Jr., who has 1 sac fly, and I never understand why you don't count a ground ball when as a sacrifice, because it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, you're scoring a run based on an out.
That always has blown my mind as far as scoring in baseball. It does not matter. He gets 2 RBIs, and that's basically it. Vinny, runner in scoring position, a guy that you're counting on, does not come through. Salvi has a chance to pick him up, does not come through. MJ, again, 0 for 4. Hunter Renfroe, yet again, 0 for 4. Kyle Isabel, 0 for 2. If you're keeping track at home, that's 0 for 10 with your outfielders.
Carry
Not
the
great.
side rather than main.
I will say, at least Isabel had a walk.
He did walk. He did get on base once.
So 1 for 11, basically, from your outfielders ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, we'll talk some Royals. We'll talk about that as they get set for this weekend series against the A's and then the Tigers. Let's talk about the NFL schedule release last night. Did you watch the show? Did you watch the actual schedule release on NFL Network? I know Dylan did because he's just watching NFL Network all day. You didn't watch it?
I did not.
Okay, so that's the only time you didn't have NFL Network on that you were watching?
That is actually the only time. I fell asleep while it was on. So I didn't watch it.
You
but
fell
it was
asleep at
on
7
in the
o'clock?
background. Yes.
Good for you, man.
I did have I was tired. I
Good
think
for
I was
you.
maybe sick, but powering through some things.
Hey, that's fine. Good for you, man. Get some extra sleep. That's perfectly fine. Did you watch it last night, Sterling?
No, I was doing a podcast during it. I was doing a little live breakdown.
I also did not watch it. I did not watch it last night. Little man had a baseball game. So
you guys were slacking and I was working. Okay, I see how it goes.
I was working, a third base coach. Come on, man.
They leaked it all day. We
on, yes.
we did the first half.
Pretty much knew what was going on. It was a big game last night. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I don't think you understand what's going on.
Yeah. How many kids do you have to say stop or go?
Well, I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you're yelling back and go, and you're good. Nobody there. A little more. Hey, I need a secondary from you. You know, hey, less than 2 outs. You're at third. Fly ball, what are we doing? Because we're teaching about, tagging up and things like that. You know, sprinting back to the bag. Ground ball, what are we doing? Make sure it gets past the pitcher, then we're going. Hey, you know what? You got man on first and second. You can't wait for it to get past the pitcher. You got to go now, no matter what. Fly ball, we're still coming back to tag, okay? Those are all the conversations each and every time you have them. I'm working here, okay? I got stuff to do. I don't know what you were doing. I'm doing a podcast. That's not work. You're just hanging out talking some bleep with the boys. That's all you're doing.
I was vibing.
I
was vibing.
Sorry, I'm putting in the real work.
Yeah.
Yes, we're playing.
Teaching America's youth.
We're playing a AAA 9U team as 8U. Okay, we got work to put in here, Sterling. Okay, we got to get to
sounds
work.
Sounds like they don't know what to do on a sack fly, but yeah.
Yeah, this is the first year we're teaching about kid pitch. You know.
Gotta learn somewhere.
Last year was machine pitch.
I have higher expectations for your kids.
Can't even
Jason.
leave.
Sterling's the Vince Lombardi.
Apparently, Sterling was doing Sterling was kid pitch at 5 years old.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Sterling was strategizing.
Get out there.
Defensive, shifts when he was in 6U T-ball.
Oh, of course I was. I had my spreadsheets and everything. You're telling me I wasn't sitting there like Happy Gilmore? That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
You're scared of the ball? You're scared of the ball. We're going to the fast pitch at Mac and Sights. You're going to sit there where it's 80 miles an hour
and just take
it.
That won't have any later repercussions.
You scared of that ball now, son?
No, not at all. Yes, I'm actually more scared of it, sir. This is the exact opposite. I don't want to play anymore.
Oh,
I'm now done playing baseball.
I feel like my strategy is going to work out. I feel like
it might work out. With a couple.
Well, that's the only couple you need.
That's right.
If a couple makes it into the pros, you're good.
If you got 2 kids on your team and that's it, and you have
kids on my team, you mean? I meant as far as making it to the big leagues. Then I feel like I'm looking pretty good.
No,
at that
that's
point.
totally right. You should only focus on 8-year-old kids that you think can make it to the big leagues and coach them. Now, the only kids you should focus on is, you know what? I think this guy's got a chance as an 8-year-old to make it to the big leagues. You over there, you got no chance. Leave me alone. I'm working with this guy. Okay.
I've seen many movies, and I feel like I never finished the movies, but I feel like halfway through it's working out for those people.
Absolutely, every time.
Yeah, no, don't finish it, which is the halfway through point.
Why would you want to finish it? It might put you in a bad mood.
Yeah.
If it doesn't finish the way that you want, that's terrible. The schedule is fully finished for the Chiefs. We know what it looks like weeks 1 through 18. A few takeaways and reactions to the Chiefs' schedule release. A little disappointed in the early bye week. It puts even more of an emphasis on either having your seed wrapped up in week 18 or having the number 1 seed after playing week 18. If you have to play week 18, if you let's say they're tied with the Ravens, but they have the win over the Ravens on Thursday Night Football to start the season. But they have the same record. They're both sitting 12-4 going into that game against the Broncos. You got to win it. But if you win it, you get next week off. That's vital. Or what could be just as good of a scenario to a degree. That's obviously the best scenario is getting the home field advantage, but we learned last year they don't need it. But what they did need was that final week to not go out there and have to go and play to get home games, to even get the 3 seed. You had to go out there and play to do that. They didn't. So they got week 18 off. Not everybody, but some important players, including Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
We saw the difference there. And that's what the bye week that was a little bit later. What was it, week 10 last year? The bye week before that Eagles game. And it's the bye week is week 6. It's the earliest it's been. Patrick Mahomes, the earliest it's been for him is week 8. It's the second earliest bye week you can have. Week 5 is when the byes start.
Yeah.
Week 6, the second earliest you can have. They will play 12 games in a row before going into the postseason. And if they need to play week 18 and they don't get a bye in the first week, they would play 16 straight weeks or 15 straight weeks, then get a bye before the Super Bowl if they were to go that route. It is difficult.
And you also get a kind of like a pseudo bye with the terrible scheduling of the Saturday to Wednesday. Then
That's true.
After the Wednesday,
That's a good
you kinda
point.
get a longer
That's
week.
good. You got a little bit. You got about 4 days extra there, so you get a half bye. I know Travis Kelce talks about that he likes Thursday night football games where most players don't. He likes it because you're kind of a half bye week after it's over. That he looks at it.
Sure.
It's tough the first part of the week. You get right back into another game. Your body hurts. But then you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday just to chill and a little bit of a bye week. They get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday before getting back at it on Monday for the Broncos. And if they don't have to play that game, then that's a longer stretch of rest. And if they get the bye week as well, well, then you might as well have phase 1 OTAs going on at that time for the amount of time they can rest.
I mean, they damn deserve it after playing 3 games in 10 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brutal.
There are 3 teams that are, at least that I've said, I haven't looked at every single schedule. There are 3 teams that are playing 3 games in 10 days this year.
It's just absurd.
There might be more. I'd have to look at every single schedule. Chiefs and Steelers both play 3 games in 10 days, and the Bengals have a December 3 games in 10 days. By the way, all 3 of those teams, 2 of those 3 games are on the road. So those 3 games in 10 days, 2 on the road for the Chiefs, 2 on the road for the Steelers, 2 on the road for the Bengals.
And again, you got to win what's on your schedule.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's a little easier as far as just teams this year than last year. The NFC South obviously is helpful. Maybe 2 of the best teams you play, 2 of the top 6 teams on the schedule are the Falcons and the 49ers, and those are NFC opponents. Both are on the road, but they don't really affect seeding, as we saw last year with the Lions. It's not a big deal. It's why the bye week 6, you're like, okay, that sucks. It's early, but to me, it's even worse. People are trying to say, well, you have the 49ers. You can get ready for that game. The NFL wants you to get ready for that game, but as far as seeding and actual that game mattering, it doesn't.
It's not as full. It's not a full, bye week preparedness over the 49ers because the 49ers play Thursday night football the week before. So while the Chiefs will have that week off, the 49ers will still have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So they'll have a full 10 days before they play. The Chiefs will have 14 or whatever before they play. So the Chiefs will have 4 days extra rest, but not your typical full bye week before. Like when they play the Panthers, if they were going to play a team that's coming off a bye, I'm glad it's the Panthers.
Yeah.
Now you might say, trap game, you play the Bills on the road, the Panthers are off, then you go to Carolina, they come off a bye, and then Friday you've got the Raiders at home. So are you overlooking the Panthers? You should be able to get by that game while overlooking them, but that would be your definition of a looking back, go, how did they lose to that team? Like, how did they lose to the Colts a couple of years ago when Matt Ryan got cursed at, or a bad word was said by Chris Jones and he got a penalty because he wasn't nice enough to the old vet in Matt Ryan? How did they lose to the frickin' Colts that year? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's the only team they play that's coming off a bye, which is perfectly fine because last year they played a couple, and last year we talked about those final 6-7 weeks of the season where they had fewer fewer days of rest than the other team. The other team had more days of rest than the Chiefs did in those games. That's not the case this year because they play the 3 games in the 10 days, but that third game is the one you would be worried about, right? That third game in the 10 days is the one that really is going to bite you. Well, the Steelers are doing the same thing. That is the Steelers' third game in 10 days. And the Steelers are coming off back-to-back road games at Philadelphia and at Baltimore.
Oh, physical teams too.
The Steelers are playing Baltimore on that Saturday. The Chiefs are playing a home game against Houston, but Pittsburgh is in Baltimore. Chiefs are at home against Houston. And then Pittsburgh's third game in 10 days is against the Chiefs at home. Chiefs' third game in 10 days is against the Steelers on the road.
And
much easier
and
task.
most likely a kick returner at quarterback.
That's right. That's exactly right. And Justin Fields, who knows about that? But the Steelers have a huge divisional matchup on the road. So even if we look at that one, it's not exactly a disadvantage to the Chiefs. It becomes a disadvantage because there is a higher probability of injury when you're playing that many games in that few a days. The injuries increase. We know that. And I am in line and in agreement with a lot of the immediate reaction last night when there were multiple teams that have 3 games in 10 days. The NFL can't really talk about player safety.
Yeah.
If you're going to have 3 games in 10 days, you can't then have one of those teams that has that a week 6 bye. Because they would have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of football before they start that 3 games in 10 days. To me, that's a bigger issue than just the 3 games.
Bye week before those 3 games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can you throw them a bone and get them a bye week there before that? And that's not the case. That isn't it. When you combine that becomes the issue of the risk of injury for this Chiefs team, for any team that's out there and is trying to, be successful or make a run to the playoffs. Doesn't matter if you're trying to tank and get extra draft picks. It's a built-in excuse there. But for the Chiefs, if you're going to do that to a team, at least build in the bye week that is closer to that so they're not playing 8 straight weeks of football and then now, by the way, go play 3 games in 10 days.
The Texans have that. The Texans' bye week is December 8th.
So week 14 for the
week
Texans.
14. Sorry, I didn't have the weeks.
No, you're good.
So they play the Jags, and then it's the bye, and then it's the 3 games in 10 days, which is the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Ravens on Christmas. So while the Texans do get the bye, that 3-game stretch for the Texans is.
So do they play 3 in 10 days as well?
3 in 10 days. It's the Dolphins on the 15th, Chiefs on the 21st, Ravens on Christmas.
Yeah.
And those 3 are all AFC teams, and all 3 AFC teams with playoff seeding. At least implications, I think we assume right now. So while the Chiefs might not be feeling great about their bye, at least they don't have that gauntlet of 3 teams in 10 days because that's absolutely brutal.
Well, Baltimore, I'm looking up now. Baltimore has 3 games in 10 days as well. Their 3 games in 10 days comes off a bye.
So there's this too.
They have a bye on week 14, and then they go 15, 21, 20, the 25th. So the Texans and the Ravens have the bye. The Steelers have a bye in week 9. The Chiefs have a bye in week 6.
I get the NFL saying they don't want to have byes for Chiefs, Ravens, and Texans.
Then don't have them play on Christmas.
That was my my
Sorry.
point.
No.
But,
Well, let's rewind. Go ahead.
I don't feel the same anymore.
You said,
I
I
forgot
get
where
the
it's going
NFL.
now. Yeah.
I get the NFL.
Doesn't want to have a bye in the same week for the Texans, Ravens, and Chiefs. But they don't have all 3 of those teams playing on Christmas.
There it was. I was thinking the same thing. You and I mind melding. You and I were right on the same page. I'm glad I didn't interrupt you, though. I wanted to let you get to your point because you deserve some shine as well for making really good points. I mean, that's a really, really astute point that you made there.
I didn't feel good about that. I didn't feel good. Feels forced.
I don't know. I felt
Feels
good about it. I
forced.
think it was fun. I think we just go back in the podcast and erase the first part. Now it sounds like it was all your point. It was all Sterling. In fact, sometimes I know that you go back and erase the podcast of anything that I say. And it's just, let's be honest, 4.5 minutes of blank of just dead air, and then Sterling talking for 45 seconds, and then that pattern repeating if we're, if I can look in the mirror and be a little self-aware sometimes, 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. I want to talk about a few other things with the schedule. DraftKings, the win totals for teams are out. The divisional favorites are out. We'll look at those. And I also want to talk a little bit about the schedule release videos that came out last night. Some that tried and failed, some that really didn't try and failed, and some that tried and were really good, and others that didn't have to try all that much but were still really good. We'll continue rolling along. 913-912-4810. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. Number of tweets, Sterling pointing out technically 3 games in 11 days. But, I like to go with the one that sounds worse. The one that sounds like it's more difficult. Because 25 minus 15 is 10. But if you then do the math of like you're playing on that first day, right?
Don't count it.
But it sounds better to say 3 games in 10. 3 games in 11, that's 2 odd numbers. I need an odd number with an even number just to make it sound better.
Yeah.
And tougher. Come on.
And just to fit my narrative,
Yes!
the Chiefs play 3 games in 10 days,
Of course
while
they do.
the Texans and the Steelers play 3 and 11.
They play 3-11.
3-11. They're just playing amber and down
Yes,
nonstop.
it comes from the down, man. Amber is the color of the
Of their
Chiefs'
energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes and his family. That's cool stuff.
They sing that song, that cover by The Cure, too.
I'm going to take your word for it. I'm assuming that's probably right. If you say something about music that I don't know, I'm just going to assume that it's right. It's kind of like looking up on Wikipedia. I'll just
Smith.
assume that thing is
Yeah.
right on Wikipedia. So we're talking about like short rest, etc. I went and looked at putting together the teams that they're playing and what they're doing the week before they play the Chiefs, just to see about days of rest, etc. Because last year was a big storyline late in the year when we were talking about week after week after week. It was a team that had shorter rest than the Chiefs, whether that mattered or not. Some people believe it matters. I don't necessarily believe that it matters. It may have mattered last year. They were struggling down the stretch. I don't know. I don't know if having short rest than other teams was a difference in the Raiders beating them on Christmas Day and them going, all right, let's get our bleep together. This is enough. Enough being embarrassed. This is dumb. Let's figure some stuff out. And they went and did not lose again after that. But I was a little surprised to see, because I hadn't looked at the Steelers' schedule, to see that they also played 3 games in 10 days, which would make sense. If you play on the 15th, the teams that are playing on Christmas, they wanted to play on the 21st, and then you're playing on the 25th. So, yes, it would make sense that the Steelers and then Ravens and Texans, et cetera, find out that the Bengals are doing that as well. But so I went and looked, and there are only 2 games this year where the team has more rest than the Chiefs do. Only 2. Only 2 games this year where the team has more rest.
Panthers.
Panthers are one of them. And the Denver Broncos, the other one. Denver plays on a Sunday. Chiefs play the Bucs on Monday night. And then they play on a Sunday.
You could give those 2 teams a year
Yeah.
in a lot of more
Right.
draft picks, and it won't matter.
Those are the only teams that have extra days of rest than the Chiefs. And the games where they have more rest, they have more rest than Cincinnati, because they play Thursday against Baltimore. They have more rest than Atlanta, because Atlanta plays Monday Night Football, so that's an extra day. Atlanta plays Monday Night Football the day before, a day after the Chiefs play the Bengals. The 49ers, the Chiefs have 4 more days of rest than the 49ers coming off the bye. 49ers are Thursday Night Football. I mentioned Denver, mentioned Carolina. The Chargers, second matchup, the Chiefs have 2 extra days of rest than the Chargers because they play the Raiders on Friday. The Chargers play on Sunday, so they get Saturday and Sunday off. When the Chargers are playing on Sunday, they
What
get 2
happened
extra
to
days.
Sunday games? What? Friday, Wednesday.
Yeah. And then the last game of the season against Denver, they have 4 extra days of rest because they play on Christmas. So when you take the negative days of rest against Carolina and Denver, and then all the other days, they're actually +6 on the season. They're actually +6 in days of rest over their opponents on the season. They do play 12 straight weeks without a bye.
Yeah.
They have that mini bye in Week 18 after playing on Christmas, going into Week 18 after playing on Christmas. They have that mini bye, getting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, so they get 4 days off there as opposed to the full 7. But so it's a small little bye week that they have there at the end. But, looking at the schedule and considering what it was last year, I was a little surprised that that's what it came to. I don't know if that'll be that much of a difference or not. Chargers, New Orleans, Raiders, Bucks, Bills, Raiders, Browns, Texans, Steelers all have the same amount of rest. from the week before, not necessarily from getting your batteries recharged in like week 14 or 15 and you play them in week 17.
I don't want to say that this season is a reprieve because it's the NFL and any given Sunday, but compared to the schedule of last year, even with the wonkiness of the 3 games, how close together they are, the board fell pretty well for Kansas City.
I'm fine with
Again, you're playing the NFC South. Week 1 and week 2, you're playing 2 of your toughest games when hopefully your entire team is healthy. Again, we don't know with Rashee Rice.
You're more rested. I know that the Ravens are going to have the same amount of rest, but you're not going through the brutal stretch of 5 or 6 or 7 games in a row or getting ready to play the Ravens right after you just played the Chargers or something like that, or you just played the Bills. It's Bills and Ravens back-to-back. And even the back-to-back tough games when you've got Ravens and Bengals, you've got 3 extra days of rest than the Bengals do by not playing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And one of your toughest games is who cares that it's in San Fran? Okay, fine. Make that an away game because it doesn't really matter. That's your extra game.
But you're coming off a bye.
You're coming off a bye. I mean, you look at the schedule, and I just think this bodes fairly well for Kansas City, at least compared to previous seasons. They're always going to have a tougher schedule when you consistently win, when everyone wants to make you the focal point as well. With the NFL, that 17th game is never going to be against I know they play the Panthers this year. It's never going to be against the Panthers. Unless the Panthers are all of a sudden good. That extra game, it's going to be against a great team.
Well, and they play 3 out of 4 to end the season, 3 out of 4 on the road. But those 3 of 4 could have been 49ers, Bills, and Chargers.
Yes.
Instead, it's Browns, Steelers, Broncos. 3 of 4 on the road.
The Browns is the only one that gives me a little bit of because you look at their splits last year.
Yeah.
It was Houston trash can-esque level of home versus away.
Yeah.
Because
but that is the first game of those 3 games.
Yes, it is.
10-11 days.
Last year, their defense was historically great at home. On the road, they were giving up like 28 points a game. Again, I joke, but I do wonder. There had to be something because you don't just do that. You don't go from historically amazing defensively to atrocious home and away. I get the Browns and Cleveland. They have the dog pound.
Right.
It can be hard, but can't be that good.
Yeah, and that's I'm with you on that one. If you're looking at those road games, that would be the one that's there. They should take care of the Steelers. They should take care of the Broncos.
Yeah.
No excuse not to, assuming health, which you can't really assume in week 17 or 18, but we're talking about just in general of them making it into the playoffs. Those are games that you should take care of. So it could have been worse from that standpoint. They play 1, 2, 3, 4 times they have back-to-back road games this year. They also have 3 times back-to-back home games, including the beginning of the season, Bucks Broncos, Raiders Chargers, back-to-back home games. One of those back-to-back road games is coming off the bye with 49ers and Raiders.
Does that second Chargers, I guess the first Chargers game, week
Coming off
4,
the Falcons.
After the Falcons, and the Falcons are a lot better team than people are going to give credit for. They're very good stopping the run. Their defense is much improved. Their offensive line is outstanding. Chris Lindstrom, I think, is the only guard that holds a candle to Joe Tooney. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, and I'm sure we won't be sick of that QB show storyline by then. But they're going from all the way Atlanta, traveling all the way to L.A. I know maybe I'm making a bigger deal of this.
Well, they do stop in Kansas City.
They stop in Kansas City. It's a full week rest and all that stuff. I get that. But if there was one game where I think just travel-wise, you might have some tired legs, that could be one, at least of the full normal rest type of games.
They have another stretch like that, but again, it comes off the bye. They go to San Francisco, then go to Vegas, back-to-back weeks, but they're coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Then go to San Francisco, back home, go to Vegas, back home. And then you talk about go to Atlanta, back home, go to L.A., back home, and then they play the Saints on Monday night, and then heading into the bye week, where I look at the schedule, and 3-2 should be the worst, should be the bare minimum record going into the bye. 3-2 should be the minimum of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd better beat the Falcons and Saints, and then all you would have to do is find a win against Ravens, Bengals, and Chargers to get to 3-2. I think that's the bare minimum that you should be going into the bye. 4-1, 5-0. I'll probably go 4-1 because there are games along the way you think they're going to win and they don't. We saw it last year. I was heavy on the over last year because, come on, Mahomes and Andy Reid, they win 12 games. I went alternate line over 12.5.
Oh.
I wasn't going to win any. I wasn't going to win the regular line either, so it didn't matter whether I went alternate or not. At least I got better odds and a chance to get to the 13 wins. But, 4-1 is what I will probably say they'll be at the bye. And I would be perfectly fine if they end up 4-1. Certainly depends on what game they end up losing. 5-0, yeah, you're feeling great. You're feeling fantastic about what this season can be, because then, the bye will come at the perfect time. Because every single team, the bye comes at the perfect time, no matter when it is. Oh, it's just a perfect time. You get rest, and we've had such a tough stretch to start this season with these first 5 weeks, and now we get to recharge the batteries before we have another stretch of football. So, yeah, it's a really perfect time for the bye. You guys didn't get a bye this year. It was a perfect time to not have a bye this year. It was a perfect year to not have a bye. No matter what. It's a perfect week to have a bye, if you ask the team. Just like they're all in the best shape of their lives when they get to training camp.
Every single one.
It's fantastic. More Zone next. All right, talking a lot of Chiefs here with the schedule coming out. We know the order of the teams that they'll be playing. We know the 2 Monday night games are at home. That end of the road, playing 3 of 4 on the road into the season. And that stretch where they play December 15th, the 21st, the 25th, that a lot of people are talking about. And, of course, an early bye week. Those are things that go into the season that may create some issues for the Chiefs. But they're back-to-back champions. You overcome those things. And they're good enough to overcome those things. And they're the favorites. They have the highest win, total, over-under, 11.5 this year. There are a couple of teams tied, but the juice is on the over for the Chiefs. So we'll see what ends up happening, but we'll talk more about the schedule and knowing the order and some different things that can come from that. that, and you just started rocking the fist pump. And what is this guy doing? I'm trying to get a sample here of the newest pizza, and this guy's over here, fist pumping in the freezer aisle. What the hell, man?
Yeah, you caught me. It's the Costco parking lot.
Knew it.
And the person I know is actually just one of the employees right here, which it's Dave, and me and Dave, we go a long way back just because,
Totally.
I hear so much.
Totally makes sense, man. Makes total sense. Visiting with Kent Swanson. All right, let's talk about this Chiefs team. The schedule was released. We are so NFL obsessed in the in this country, and certainly here in the area and this show. But we talked the first hour about the schedule being released. What did you? Any initial reactions and takeaways from the now order we know of the opponents they'll be playing?
I don't want to complain too much about the schedule because, I think a lot of people tend to do that, and you really don't know how everything will shake out from an injury perspective. I think, I definitely don't think the Chiefs were done any favors, though. And part of that's just because they are the hottest commodity in football, and it's very obvious because every single platform that the NFL is partnering with this year, the Chiefs will be on, I believe, unless there's a Peacock regular season game. But, and probably I would imagine part of the reason that their schedule is a little bit different and unique is because of the fact that they are on every single platform this year, right? So, you get a couple of really tough games to start the season and then some really interesting rest schedules that they will be on for basically all of December. It's a unique one for sure.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that you would like to have in a perfect world. You would change. I would certainly change the bye week from week 6. I think, week 10 through 12 is sort of that perfect area to have the bye week. That is typically what the Chiefs have had with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They had one year where it was week 8. This is easily the earliest to that. And then late in the season, as you talked about, some of the odd resting or lack thereof that comes up from December 15th to Christmas in playing the 3 different games, 2 of those on the road, and, having to navigate that. And I guess my bigger issue, if there's an issue at all, my bigger issue with that end of the season stretch of December 15th, December 21st, December 25th, because the Steelers play that same 3-game stretch, and they have 2 games on the road as well. They play back-to-back on the road before getting the Chiefs at home on Christmas. The Ravens and the Texans also have that stretch of 3 games from December 15th to December 25th. The difference being the Chiefs' bye week is week 6. The Ravens' bye week is week 14. And then they go on that 3-game stretch of those 3 games from the 15th to the 21st. So the NFL is having the Chiefs play 8 straight weeks and then starting that stretch of football where the Texans have a late bye and the Ravens have a late bye and the Chiefs have an early bye, but also go through that stretch.
Yeah, and, there's a couple – there are a couple moments of reprieve heading into that, right? So they're going to get a little bit of an extra break from week 13 to week 14. So there's a couple little, opportunities for them to get a little bit of rest in some capacity. But yeah, that bye week placement compounded with all of the, changing in schedules. I mean, literally, you're looking at from November 29th on, they play a Friday, a Sunday, a Saturday, and a Wednesday. There's just 4 different days of the week that they're playing from November 29th on. Definitely a unique layout for this group.
I don't think they'll be flexed in any of those games from week 11 through the 17th because, there's week 11, they're playing Buffalo. There's no way CBS is going to say, hey, we're going to let you flex this game out. No, they're going to protect that. That's already, CBS game of the week. Week 12 is at Carolina. No, that's not going to be flexed to a nationally televised game. Week 13, they're already playing on Black Friday against the Raiders. Week 14, the Chargers are already Sunday Night Football. The only way it would be flexed is flexed out. We saw that last year with the Patriots. They got flexed out of Monday Night Football because the Patriots were so bad. It wasn't because of the Chiefs. They flexed out having Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift on Monday Night Football for Eagles and Packers, maybe? No, Seahawks. I think it was Eagles and Seahawks that they flexed into Monday Night Football. And then the week after that, they play the Browns Sunday at noon, but they were just on Sunday Night Football the week before that. They won't be on Monday Night Football because the next game is on a Saturday against the Texans. They won't be flexed out of that one because that game has to be on a Saturday because they're playing on Wednesday. So I think they've got 5 nationally televised games, or, those Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night games. They've got others that are there as well. I don't see them being flexed in any way, shape, or form, but it is odd in that they play every day of the week except for Tuesday, which means, Kent, one of those Monday night games, we have to have a weather delay so that there is a snap and a play that is taken after midnight on that Monday night. So they would have officially played every single day of the week.
Look, the only reason the Chiefs aren't playing on a Tuesday night is because 0 games are being scheduled on a Tuesday night. So, if
That's
that
right.
ever changes,
That's a
the
good
Chiefs
point.
will be first in line. I will say that Week 14 game against the Chargers, I have seen something. I'm gonna cite this correctly. It's from Swifty ESPN on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
This is one of the few games that there are scheduling conflicts for Taylor Swift to be at the Chiefs game. So Chiefs Chargers Week 14, probably not going to have Taylor.
Okay.
So if the Chargers stink out loud,
Yeah.
maybe that's a game because you're not going to get the Taylor Swift cutaways and Easton Stick. If it's Easton Stick versus Patrick Mahomes that week,
That's right.
maybe that game gets flexed out.
Yeah, that's the only one. I looked through 11 through 17, and the other 6, I'm like, no, and that one is sort of a question mark with a lean doubtful, but there is at least a greater than 0% chance that could be flexed out. But it's an interesting schedule. They're going to be nationally televised all over the place, man. Thursday night they got 5 of them. Or not Thursday night, 5 of them, but they got the 5 with Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night to go along with that Friday, to go along with Christmas. So it'll be an interesting schedule. But you know what? You got to play the teams in front of you, regardless. And last year the issue, Kent, was that they had fewer days of rest than their opponents down the stretch. And this year, that's not the case. They have more days of rest than their opponents. There are only 2 games this year that they have fewer days than their opponents, and that's the Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. So that's not really the 2 games that you're like, man, it really sucks that they've got one less day of rest than the Denver Broncos. And damn it, the Carolina Panthers have a bye before the Chiefs get ready to play the Carolina Panthers. If there were 2 games, those might be the 2 I would choose. I don't know.
Some would argue that the Panthers week is actually an additional week. So there's that too. The
what was that? I'm sorry. What did you say? Some would argue what?
Some would argue the Panthers game itself is an extra bye week. So
some would argue that.
As well. Yeah.
Some would buy that.
Not me. Definitely not me.
So the Chiefs actually do have a bye on week 12. That's great. So they got a bye week 6 and week 12. Getting ready for that Raiders game at home on Black Friday there. Ken Swanson is our guest. All right, let's talk about this Chiefs team. They get ready for Phase 2 OTAs starting on Monday. There was a lot of talk, Kent, for the last few weeks about wide receiver and if one of these wide receivers that was available would sign with the Chiefs. That did not happen. Tyler Boyd is a Titan. Zay Jones is an Arizona Cardinal. Michael Thomas is, I'm assuming, in the training room somewhere right now. And MVS is a Buffalo Bill. Is there a wide receiver out there? Or should they be looking at wide receiver right now, or just be content with the positional group and the players they have right now moving into Phase 2 and on into training camp?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Is the wide receiver room better than it was last year? I would argue yes. So the floor has been raised to this wide receiver room, even in Rashee Rice's potential absence.
Mm-hmm.
Like Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown in the mix. I think that's a solid group. Do I think am I satisfied personally if Rashee Rice was missing 6 games for the season with the current wide receiver room? No, I don't think so. I think I'd still get a little bit greedy to try to continue to give Patrick Mahomes the kind of weapons that he needs to light the world on fire. Now, as far as, I think the interesting thing when it comes to the whole wide receiver conversation, though, is, yeah, there's not a ton of players that you're looking out there and thinking, oh, that guy's going to move the needle. But the Chiefs are also in the best position that they've been in several years to play in the trade market or the post-June 1 cut market.
Yeah.
If a Chris Godwin with a $27 million cap hit in 2024 were to be released by the Buccaneers because they've just drafted Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer in the top 100 in back-to-back years, they've just extended Mike Evans, maybe that's the kind of move that the Chiefs can get involved in. They're really well positioned to make a splash if something does come about over the next couple months, and that's where I'm going to kind of be paying attention to, is who comes available in the trade market or who's a post-June 1 cut.
It's interesting. Hadn't given much thought to the players that could be available because there's so much focus on the players that are out there right now. Zay Jones certainly piqued my interest of a player that, for the Chiefs to go and get. And I know it was a topic that a lot of people had, their opinions and disagreements on, but it's not even going to be a reality anyway for this team. I guess McCole Hardman would still be out there, but that really feels redundant to Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. McCole Hardman made sense last year because they had neither of those players out there on the field. Bringing in McCole Hardman would only be because of familiarity with the playbook, correct?
Right. And, it's not a huge needle mover from, I think we're looking at making a significant impact to the roster.
Yeah.
Even raising the floor, I'm not sure we're getting that.
That's right. That's my whole point, is raising that. That's why I was interested in Zay Jones. And I know some people are like, well, he's not a replacement for Rashee Rice. And that's fine. Whether he's a replacement for Rashee Rice or whoever, I just want to raise the wide receiver group floor as much as possible because – another player, if it was, let's just say Zay Jones, for example, and he's a Cardinal, but if it was Zay Jones, I would look at it and go, I think the floor of this wide receiver group is higher than what the ceiling was last year with that wide receiver group. And that's really what I'm looking at, is just making that better. And Brett Veach, Kent, has done such a great job of when there's a deficiency on the team in whatever positional group it might be, he goes at it and is aggressive in trying to fix that, maybe over the top, maybe just enough, who knows? But there isn't we're just going to just hope that gets better. Offensive line, they went and got draft picks and trades and free agents. And defense, they went and got trades and free agents and draft picks. And now with the wide receiver, they went and got free agents and draft picks and, as you said, might be a trade. It's one thing about Brett Veach that I don't worry about, that if there is a deficiency on this team in some way, shape, or form, you won't go through the offseason and then next year and go, man, how did they let this happen?
I like to call it the aggressive correction. And, you've seen it since, this team lost the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they lacked offensive line depth. He has always made those aggressive corrections to fix what ails his team. And I think, the fact that they were, bringing in a Zay Jones for a visit at least tells you a little bit about what they think, right? And I think there could be some targets that come available at the receiver spot here, in the next couple of weeks. With, I'm keeping an eye on that Chris Godwin situation. Some people have brought up a Treylon Burks, and I know Treylon Burks is more of a reclamation project than he is maybe a floor raiser, but, I think it's worth at least paying attention to the fact that the Chiefs were visiting with Zay Jones. They're not completely satisfied with where they're at in the wide receiver room. They want to continue to keep the pressure on some of those players that have underperformed, like a Kadarius Toney, like a Sky Moore, and set that standard with those guys. They're active. If you're hitting up Zay Jones, you're active. So that's something I'm paying attention to, and I think they're going to continue to evaluate that wide receiver position, especially in the wake of the Rashee Rice situation.
Here's another one for you, Kent. Darius Slayton. This is an article that was before the draft, and they had the mock draft of them getting neighbors, and they were using that as a reason to cut him, and also it saves them $3.8 million if they trade or release him as well. So I know that we've always wanted Darius. A lot of people have wanted Darius Slayton.
Say we?
Yeah.
What do you got, a mouse in your pocket, Dylan?
No. But that's another one.
Yeah, I
that
think he's a
people
fine
don't even know
receiver.
about.
Yeah, and again, that would be just raising the floor. He's 27 years old. He's at that age. If that's the route they want to take, it's adding and really, Kent, to me, it's about not going into camp and saying, well, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore are going to be on this team unless Nico or Justin Ross beats them out. And not those guys have to battle for a spot on this team, and they aren't sort of the inside looking out, like it to a point or a degree of going, maybe only one of those guys makes the team. That would be an ideal situation for me. And if they beat out somebody else, then hey, they beat out somebody else. But right now, those two guys essentially are on the team. I don't know what role they'll be playing, but until they add to that, it's sort of looking at this season and going, who are the top? And then you've got Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, which is a much better position to be in, Kent, than last year saying you've got Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore as your top two.
Well, and to be fair, this time last year there was more optimism about both of those players. They're
True.
both coming off fourth quarter Super Bowl touchdowns, and so there was a belief that things would shake out between those two in a Rasheed Rice, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of those guys would come out of things, in a really favorable position, and Rasheed Rice was the one that ultimately did that. So, we weren't sitting. I mean, we were sitting here not satisfied with how the room was shaking out, but interested in the kind of lottery tickets that they had in the room to see who would kind of, come out of it. But, that's kind of played itself out at this point. And now I don't think anybody's hopeful for a Sky or Kadarius. Anything that they do will be gravy. Anything they do of value would be, just a bonus on top of what this team already has in the room. I do think, going back to Zay Jones, I was thinking about this too, is, as you're considering the status of some of those players that we're talking about with the Justin Ross, with the Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Nico Remigio, I mean, Zay Jones isn't playing special teams for you. So, you're looking at roster construction. If they're interested in Zay Jones, what does that say about that group down there at the bottom, right? Is this team really, from a roster construction perspective, that doesn't give me the warm fuzzies about that secondary tier of players, because those guys that we just listed, none of them really are, special teams contributors. Maybe Nico Remigio could be. But outside of the return game, none of those guys are adding any kind of value outside of that. So I think that's something worth paying attention to.
Ken Swanson is our guest, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. He is brought to you by the Kansas Department of Transportation and Drive to Zero Coalition, inviting you to join fans with a plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. Any positional groups out there, Kent, besides wide receiver, that they could still add to, or you'd like to see them add to? A veteran, maybe a post-June 1 cap casualty, something like that they can still address and look at, besides what has been the main talking point this offseason, which is that wide receiver group?
Yeah, I'm always paying attention to the defensive line. I could see them, maybe there's a reunion with an Emmanuel Ogba type player just to continue to add capable bodies to the pass rush. I don't think that's ever a bad practice to have good depth and competition at the defensive line. Cornerback too, always paying attention to that one as well, just because, they have three, cornerbacks that are entering their third season. You've seen Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson do good stuff, but in a more limited capacity. Do you want to continue to add bodies to that room? In running back, too. If you wanted to try to add another established veteran into the running back room, if one were to get released after June 1st, I think those are the kind of positions that I'd be paying attention to. But, these aren't, desperation moves at this point for this roster. They are small tweaks and small additions just to try to make yourself a little bit better and give yourself a little bit more depth. You got to like where this team is at from a roster construction standpoint at this point.
Ken Swanson is our guest. You wrote about at kcsn.substack.com, you wrote about Jaden Hicks, and he seems to be a favorite of a lot of different people, whether that be local or national, with the value that they got in this particular player. what do you see in Jaden Hicks, and can he be a productive player early on? Shamari Connor, week number 1 was out there against the Lions and playing, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, this guy he's starting and he's playing in the slot and he's blitzing, and he didn't play all that many snaps, but early on in the game he did, and playing special teams. Can Jaden Hicks be a guy that in the rotation is like, this guy's going to be productive right away or early in the season because of the traits that he brings to the table and the things that Spags looks for in a safety/hybrid guy that can do many different things?
Oh yeah, I think this is a guy that can. I mean, it's not going to surprise. I don't know if it's going to surprise very many people, right? Just because of how a lot of people perceive him and his value and his ability as a football player. If he finds a role and contributes, now he may not be the prototypical safety in 2024. We compared him to Talanoa Hufanga.
Oh yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers now, and he wanted to be an All-Pro in 2022. But the concerns about him, I think I had a 3rd-round grade on him in 2022, 2021, whenever we graded him, and I liked his tape was just undeniable despite not being the best coverage player. And Jaden Hicks isn't the best coverage player, but he's a versatile player that can play in your sub packages, that can play in the box, that can blitz. He can cover capably, and he finds himself around the football a lot. And you take all of those kind of traits and put them in there, and you've got to be excited about what he brings to the table. And I think the Chiefs are clearly excited about what he brings to the table because they didn't anticipate that he would be there. And so you take all that and you put him in the scheme that the Chiefs are going to play. He's a perfect fit for this scheme. He's a potential Justin Reed replacement if they want to do that. And I kind of compare it to, when the Chiefs signed Drew Tranquill. Part of why the Chiefs defense was so successful last year is that even when Nick Bolton was out, Drew Tranquill stepped right in and made plays and was, this team did not skip a beat with Drew Tranquill as the green dot. I look at the same with Jaden Hicks is, if they suffer some safety, attrition, even a Justin Reed, I think we're going to look back if that happens and say, well, thank God this team drafted Jaden Hicks because he's, this team really isn't skipping a beat with him being out on the field. And I think that's what they're getting is a guy that can do a lot of different things and do them in the ways that the Chiefs prefer their safeties to play.
Well, it's an interesting comparison with Drew Tranquill because it kind of feels like both those guys in a way fell in their lap. That Drew Tranquill wasn't a guy they went out and identified. It was just that all of a sudden somebody was like, hey, are you interested in Drew Tranquill? Like as the story goes, like agent reaching out, like, well, yeah, but how much? That's it? Well, yeah, we're interested in it. Let's talk. And then they signed Drew Tranquill, and it's been awesome. And now an extension. And it didn't seem like they were targeting Jaden Hicks in the draft the way that Brett Veach was talking, that this guy was still there. And it's like, on principle alone, we have to draft this guy because he shouldn't be here in the 4th round. They may have been targeting a different position or a different player, but if it turns out to be somebody that is a productive player or a really good player and a great find in the 4th round, make a case that they got a couple of guys on defense that they really didn't set out and identify that we got to have this guy and just sort of happened. And, hey, rich get richer sometimes.
And I might have missed this, but did anyone see why he fell so far? Or is there a reason? Was there just a
I don't know.
deficiency anywhere?
No, I didn't see anything to where as to why he fell and all of a sudden was in the 4th round and was like, what,
I haven't either.
The 11th safety taken or the 9th or 11th safety, one of those. One of them was in the Wiley and Hicks. One was the 9th player taken at their position. The other one was like the 11th or whatever when he was the 1st or 2nd or 3rd safety on the board with a lot of guys. So I'm with you. When I read that you wrote there at kcsn.substack.com, Kent, about Jaden Hicks, and I'm like, man, I'm pumped about this pick. I like the draft a lot. We'll see what ends up happening with these particular players, but Xavier Worthy and Kingsley Suamataia, I think Wiley can really help this offense. And then you take a chance on some guys later with some interior offensive linemen when you lose Allegretti. Those are the type of picks and moves that sort of keep the train moving throughout the season when you need some depth. And especially now we're talking about, having to play 12 straight games this year with the early bye week.
Yeah, and this team has done a phenomenal job building depth. And this draft is, you're right, they did an incredible job with this draft. this is the most excited I've been about a draft since 2022. We were head over heels for what they were doing throughout that draft. And, we were doing a live stream the entirety of it. And, specifically Matty Lane was bringing up, oh, hey, maybe the Chiefs would, pick Darian Kennard right now. And they took him. But I didn't know I know that's the downside of him. But
right.
Pacheco, there's a lot of guys that we were just kind of excited about. And this is the exact same feeling that we got when we were, when the 2022 draft happened. Is there was just a lot of players that we were, really excited about when the picks happened, and I think we wanted. There's not very many B's or C's that we were giving out when the picks were happening. There was a lot of A's, and getting a Jaden Hicks this late in the draft was certainly an A for us, just because. And I think they had a plan, and the plan ended after Jared Wiley, to a point where they're just like, hey, look, we'll take Wiley here at 131. If Hicks is still there at 133, we're taking him. That's kind of the vibe I got, right? Is they were executing their plan. They wanted Jared Wiley, which is, I think that speaks to the excitement about Jared Wiley too, from a team perspective. But then when Hicks was still there 2 picks later, they said, all right, let's go ahead and deviate away from our plan. So I think that's positive indicators for both fourth-round picks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm with you on that. Last one for you. I asked this question earlier this week when we knew and found out with the schedule leaks that it'd be Baltimore and then Cincinnati to start off the season. If they can only win one of those games, which game would you prefer the Chiefs get the win against?
I think probably the Ravens, even though it would sting a little bit to lose to from an ego perspective, I don't want to lose to the Bengals ever again. But I think the Ravens are the biggest contender for the Chiefs in the AFC. And I think you try to win that game, and you want to win that game, because when it comes down to Week 18, the long game, I think the Ravens have a better shot of being in contention for the one season than the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why I ended up going with the Ravens as well. Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Check out the work, kcsn.substack.com. Kent, you're the man as always. Really appreciate the time, brother. We'll talk soon, man. Have a good day.
Yeah, anytime, folks.
Absolutely. There's Kent Swanson, and he's with KCSN and presented by the Kansas Department of Transportation. Drive to Zero Coalition, inviting you to join Fans with a Plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. We'll take a time out and come back, but let's do this on the other side. We're going to give away some tickets. Should we give away some tickets here, Dylan?
Let's do it.
I say we do that. 913-381-810. 913-381-810. We're going to give away a pair of tickets to the Monarchs home opener tonight. And you can hear that game right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. They're taking on Winnipeg. But a pair of tickets to, I don't know, let's just go like caller number 8 maybe, or 10. Which one? Maybe caller number 8. Maybe that's fine. You know what? What do you want to do?
We'll do 10. We never do 10.
You know what?
It's always
Let's do
8.
it. Let's call her number. Let's do Pacheco. Let's get this thing rolling in here.
like it.
Big number 10. Pop. All right, 913-381-810. Pair of tickets to the Monarchs home opener tonight. Caller number 10. We take a timeout. We come back. More Zone next.
story, and he's still living it up right now. How badass is that? You can go
Good
out
for
and
him.
shoot an 88 today, and you're still like, I don't care. I played Valhalla.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
mean, I have too, so who cares? I mean, right? I mean, I don't. Did you
You
know
ain't
that
getting
story?
paid.
Did you know?
You ain't getting paid to play Valhalla, guy.
Did you know that?
Never once heard you bring that up. Never.
So cool. But yeah, Xander is playing some phenomenal golf right now, and through 16, he is now 9 under as he just birdied 16. So a couple of holes to play, and he is the leader by 3 right now. So this is the 10-year anniversary, though, of one of the coolest days that I've had in media, and that was 10 years ago at the PGA Championship, which was at Valhalla, and working it through the media. And there are certain places you're allowed to go and certain places you're not allowed to go, right? With my media credential, I was definitely not allowed to go on the other side of the ropes and walk the course on the inside of the ropes with the golfers. Okay, my credential did not give me access to that. Did I care, Sterling? Do you think I let that hold me back?
If you dress appropriate and you act like you know what you're doing,
Right?
you can do almost anything in life and get away with it. I have learned this.
Facts.
Yep.
I have learned many things. If you dress up and you just have the confidence,
Yeah.
most security guards, they think that, oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yep. He's supposed to be there.
He's supposed to be there.
It took me a few holes to get there, but finally found an opening with Tiger Woods' round on Thursday.
Oh, you went bold with Tiger, too.
Yeah, what's the point?
If it was Mike Weir, I think you're in
No,
the clear.
What's the point?
Mike Weir, you're in the clear. Tiger Woods.
You're in the woods
Yeah.
if they catch you. No, found an opening on the third hole and sort of moved my way through the crowd. I'm like, excuse me, and just went underneath the ropes and then walked the rest of the course with the group. Just nobody said anything. No security guard said anything. No LMPD. Nothing. Just walking with the group and watching Tiger play. That was.
Did you have the badge too, right?
I had the.
You had the credential.
Yeah, I
What-
had the credential. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't just walking around there just like an average Joe. I had media clothes on. I didn't have like a tank top and shorts and flip flops or anything. So I was dressed as a media member that was working that day in the media room. But I was not cleared to be inside the ropes. Certainly walking the course with Tiger. The thing is, though, I couldn't be taking pictures or anything.
No,
I couldn't
you
be
have
like
to
fanning it, selfies or anything. So it was interesting because I just simply got to watch. I wasn't on my phone the whole time. I was just simply enjoying the day, watching, and like, holy bleep. He was terrible. He was.
But like,
he
I
didn't
don't
make
need,
the cut.
I don't need pictures from you. I believe you.
Yeah, he didn't make the cut. I made the whole thing up. Gotcha, guys. He didn't make the cut. He wasn't all that good. Rory ended up winning that PGA Championship in the dusk coming down. 18 when it was almost dark and the fog sort of setting in, and that was a cool scene for him winning it. But yeah, that was 10 years ago on Thursday that I ended up doing that, sneaking inside the ropes. You know what? If they caught me, they caught me. What are you going to do?
Right, and like you were almost forced to do the Phil Knight, LeBron breaking the points record, where you're just enjoying it while probably other people would,
Exactly.
I gotta take a picture. I'm with Tiger. Like
I couldn't go and fan it up at that point
Right.
because I want to keep my credential.
he probably
Because-
thought you were like a course president or something.
Well,
It's
there
like,
were a
who is this
bunch
guy?
of people in the media that were following that, right? So I was just in the group of other media members there. It wasn't like I was the only one. Photographers, media members that had access, a couple of media members there that knew I did not have access, but I was friends with them, so they weren't, little snitches about the whole thing.
Living the now.
So yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. McIlroy is 3 under through 14, so he's 6 shots back. Xander is 4 shots clear of Tony Finau in second place.
And by the way, the Corn Ferry Tour is in KC.
That's
at Blue
right.
Hills.
We'll be there tomorrow.
We'll be there tomorrow. And I'll tell you, I am stoked as a man whose first job, which this is the most Leewood thing I think possible, is I worked at a country club. That was my first job in high school.
Was your first job handing Patrick Mahomes his jersey before the game?
Here, Mr. Mahomes.
My first job was to give him his gloves as he's walking out to the field, and I got paid $500 every time I gave him a glove.
I will laugh, though, because I didn't laugh with Trent Green about this, because Trent Green was a member when I was in high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to
carry
do.
his bags?
But even better. Well, I think it's better. He lost his phone on the course one time because he sometimes it falls out of the cart and he couldn't find it, and he needed someone to try and find it. So he gave me his phone number, and so for the longest time in high school, I had Trent Green's phone number, which you think is badass, right? Of course,
Yeah.
I saved it. Never called him. Never once called him. But I would
Call
just
him
show
now.
people, you're like, dude, I have Trent Green's number. I'm pretty cool. And so I told him that story of how I didn't abuse it, but I actually had to use that number one time later on when I was doing this to get him on a show. And I told him that story, and he was like, thanks for not blowing my phone up and just handing it out to everyone in high school.
That's great. Hey, guys, party. I'm going to call Trent Green right now. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. I'm going to call Trent Green. It's so cool.
That's
Trent!
exactly what you're supposed to do when you get these people's numbers.
And no, we never found his phone. It was lost in the abyss
That
of
sucks.
Blue Hills. But
By the way, Michael Block finished his opening round at 5 over.
wow,
So he played
buckled
even.
down.
The last 16 holes, he was even. So yeah, he came out a rough start. So aside from the snowman on the second hole, he played the round 1 over there. So perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. That course, playing it 1 over. Woo! You are one hell of a golfer. Any major course, any course that sets up for a major, doesn't matter. You play that thing 1 over, from the tips, from the pros, from the major spot, you're a phenomenal golfer. And you don't win a huge tournament without being a phenomenal golfer either. So, obviously, pretty good player.
Now, I was going to take a shot at Wyndham Clark, but I can't because he's backed it up. He's backed it up.
It's still a hotel chain. It's not a real person.
I will just always laugh at hole 18
It's like the Howard
when
Johnson.
he just absolutely sliced that.
Yeah.
And we're all like, that's OB. That's fairway? Like, if that's me, that's a lost ball any course I play at.
Well, that's the difference is like you see the golfers on the PGA and the Korn Ferry that when they mishit one, but it only lands 10 feet on the green, right? And it's not like, right at the hole, like, oh my, just mishit that, Very rarely do you see like the mishit hook into the water, which we saw at the Masters a couple of times on that final round.
Yes.
Amen corner. There were a lot of people cursing and not necessarily saying amen, but just those hooks right into the water. We saw a couple of those. Those don't happen very often. A lot of times when it's a mishit, it's like, damn it, now I'm 35 feet away from the hole. Where if that's my shot, I am texting everybody to tell them how amazing of a shot I did. I was 200 yards out. I put it within 30 feet, dude. Best shot of my life. And those guys are breaking their club over their knee because they mishit it.
What I do find crazy is, and if you've ever played these courses, I know it used to be at Lionsgate.
I played Valhalla once.
Well, I was saying more Korn Ferry, even like local courses that people
No, I
have
haven't.
maybe played, like Blue Hills.
I haven't played Blue Hills. I want to. I would.
It's a great course.
I'd put a lot of divots in there, so that
a great course.
I need to walk around with the sand.
But my point is, you think it's such a hard course, and it's a damn hard course. And you see these guys a lot of times, I don't want to say eating it up, but they're going pretty low. There'll be some low scores, and they're also playing from the tee boxes that they might even create just for this specific event. And you're like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
holy bleep, these guys are incredible.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out because I do think it's cool. Some of the caddies, they're my guy. I see him every single year. Sometimes stay at my parents' house. He's staying there this year. Caddy Flea.
Caddy Flea.
Caddy Flea.
Oh, from Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's
Different
awesome.
guy.
I didn't know that's what he's doing.
Southern
Second
accent.
job.
Shout out Flea. I'll be seeing him tomorrow. And it's always these caddies travel like
He doesn't just live under the bridge?
does not live under the bridge. No,
Okay.
no. Surprisingly, he might dream of Californication. I'm not sure, but
No. More like dreaming of corn. Andrew Brandt has put out the details of Jared Goff's contract.
it's a lot.
$73 million signing bonus for Jared Goff. So he just got $73 million put into his bank account. $73 million signing bonus. First year cash of $80.6 million. So he's getting roughly $6.4 million for the base salary this year, or workout bonuses, roster bonuses, whatever it ends up being. But this year, at the end of the season, he would have made $80.6 million after Week 18. The 3-year money for Jared Goff is $153.6 million, the second largest ever behind Lamar's 156.
Why couldn't I have been 6'6", really good at football, and
Why
a quarterback?
Why couldn't I have been 6'6", have an amazing arm, play quarterback, be a first pick in the draft, go to a Super Bowl? Oh, I couldn't have I just done that.
Photographic memory, have a phenomenal work ethic,
learn a playbook. Which, if
baseball's where it's at. If we're doing all
seriously,
this,
I don't know, man. Quarterback and base. I think baseball or quarterback. If you're a quarterback, I think it's worth it in the NFL because you're not getting hit quite as much. Shorter schedule, less travel, all that stuff. If you're a quarterback, I would say that's the best thing in all of sports. Outside of that, I'd say baseball.
Yeah, you get paid. You get paid a lot of money. You paid a lot. And Kyler Murray, made a good choice. Patrick Mahomes made a good choice. Some people make choices to go baseball, and they made a good choice by getting drafted in big signing bonuses.
Bo Jackson?
Maybe
he should have stayed with baseball.
I would have preferred that, yes. Less time with him with the Raiders, more time with the Royals.
Yes.
Less hip injuries from football, more time with the Royals. I would prefer that, yes. He proved that he could play in the NFL and Major League Baseball. Great, you proved it. Michael Jordan proved that he's a damn fine baseball player because it ain't easy to bat 200 at Double-A.
Deion, too.
Yeah, Deion, right. But, you bat 200 in Double-A, you're an amazing baseball player. Considering, I know we look at it and go, that guy sucks, right? Double-A is only batting 200.
That's the best baseball player at your high school. Basically.
In your area. Probably. That's the best baseball player that's come from your area in a long time. Well,
Bubba Starling,
only made it to Double-A, honestly, Bubba Starling was an amazing baseball player.
Yeah.
Just amazing baseball player. Just a freak athlete as well, but amazing baseball player. You get to that level, it's ridiculous. Even the worst, NBA players are phenomenal players. I tell the story about, my buddy in high school that went and played at SMU basketball, and he was a reserve player, and he would average 3 or 4 points per game. Man, he'd come back home, and we'd play some pickup games. And he's just hitting fadeaway threes, NBA threes, right? Not even college threes, pulling up from almost half court, just burying it. You watch him just shoot around, and he's never missing it, right? He's got all these different moves. He's leaping and dunking over everybody. And then he gets to SMU and is playing 10 minutes a game. It's that guy is one of the best players I've ever... Greg Gurley. At his age, when we used to play, city, ball together with the team, like Boger and Petro and me and Gurley and a number of other people.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we played.
I would love
before
video
I moved to
from
Louisville.
this.
Is there film?
Yes, there's film. I'd love to see this.
Before I moved to Louisville, we had a team together before everybody started tearing their Achilles and deciding that we couldn't do that anymore.
Dylan, let's bring this back, by the way.
Yes.
I like my Achilles, so...
And so we would just play for fun, right? It wasn't competitive. We weren't out there just being crazy. We were running a 2-3 zone, right? Not even a Syracuse 2. It was an early Baylor 2-3 zone. Just sort of stand there with your hands up, right? And there was one guy there, and Gurley would just, dribble down the floor, pull up from half court and hit it, and just slowly jog back the other way and stand with his hands up, right? There was a dude that, recognized that it was Gurley and decided he wanted to show out on Greg Gurley, and crossed him up, did a couple things, spin move, laid it up, and was flexing on him. And just the annoyance on Greg Gurley's face. Just the annoyance. Okay. Ball. Dribbles up the floor. Gets to the 3-point line. Guy comes out to guard him. Gurley, boom, jab step, crossover, one power dribble from the block, jumps, and just yokes it. Just out of nowhere. You have been walking up and down the floor. You aren't jumping for anything, and just jumps and just almost breaks the rim, slams it so hard, and then slowly jogs back to the other side of the court and puts his hands up in a lazy 2-3 zone. And that's all he needed to do. It's the only time I've seen him actual work and it was because this guy thought, oh, I'm going to show Greg Gurley. And he just proved, like, oh, by the way, I played at Kansas, man. Like, I still had, like...
Shocked Petro didn't just say, where has that been?
No,
where has that defensive hustle been?
No, we were just all playing for fun, you know? Just out there just to get a little run in and play and relive some of the glory days. Not for me, but it was just great. It's just like, just wanted to... if you're Greg, I don't have to go out here and put up 40 points to prove to myself. I'm just out having fun with some friends. But if you want to be, as Kelsey said to Tucker, if you want to be a D about it, I can embarrass you if I want to. I'm just choosing not to because I'm just here to have fun, man. You know, just have some fun. We're just playing some city ball. That's it. Just a little rec league. That's all. It's phenomenal. I'm like, all right. Never questions. Even if, you know, older, neck, back issues that he's had, right? Just jumps and dunks it.
I just need the film. Wherever it's at.
I wish I would have stopped.
Is this the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game?
I wish I would have stopped on the court and just taken video instead of, you know, watching it unfold because it was hilarious. How quickly he crossed the dude. And the dude was like, you know, down, like ready to play defense, like Philip Seymour Hoffman, like Rainmaker.
It's
exactly.
The guy's Super Bowl.
Here we
and
go.
Greg Gurley is just wasting some time on a Thursday or Friday night.
And it was like me against my son. You know, just a quick crossover. And just one power dribble.
Like
and
that kid crossing over the old lady in his front yard, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it just jumped and flushed it. And it was just like, that was the last the kid tried to take on Greg Gurley, right? At that point, it's like, all right, well, I did my thing. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back.
Can't believe Nate did that.
It was ridiculous. Why did you do that, Bucati? It wasn't smart. More Zone next. Kansas City Royals baseball. They lose the series to the Mariners. They get ready for what should be a fun weekend out at the K, with Herrera throwing out the first pitch tomorrow night with the Herrera bobblehead doll. Then Wade Davis. Waiter, check please, on Saturday night. And the bobblehead. And then Sunday, Holland first pitch. Bobblehead this weekend. Celebrating the 10-year anniversary of that 2014 team. So much fun. So much fun to watch. So much fun to be a part of in this area that just turned this area back into that baseball-crazed mindset that we had before I could remember. outside of that, he's going to be useless, unfortunately. Let's talk some Royals baseball, 913-912-4810. We talked a lot of Chiefs in the first hour with the schedule release. We talked Chiefs with Kent Swanson from KC Sports Network. Let's talk some Royals baseball now as they get set for this 3-game series against the A's starting tomorrow. Off day today, and they sit still 7 games over 500, which, is much better than I thought they would be. It is way above expectations that I had for this team. Sitting a game and a half out of the Guardians. That is a much different position than I thought they would be in. If you would have told me they were 26-19, I would not think they were still a game and a half out in their own division. I would have said, are they 4 or 5 games clear of second place? How many games? What's their magic number already through 45 games?
3. It's surprisingly only 3. It's wild.
7 games over 500. But no, it's been a great start to the season. What everybody has talked about, the starting pitching has just been amazing. The bullpen has at times been up and down, but for the most part has been solid. The defense has been fantastic. And the offense, to get to the 7 games over 500, has been good enough. It hasn't been great because if it was great, they'd be leading the division, and they would be more than 7 games over 500 right now. It's been just good enough. Here's where I do wonder the concern level moving forward. And we've talked about the outfield. We've discussed that ad nauseum. Rainey tweeted out last night that since April 20th, otherwise known as 420, Velazquez is slashing 155, getting on base at 222 with a slug of 259. That includes the home run on Tuesday. Hunter Renfroe is hitting 129, getting on base at 206, and slugging 177.
Power bat.
He's hitting 129, slugging 177. He's Luis Ariz with 200 points lower on the batting average.
No, that's Tony Pena Jr.
No, I'm talking about the batting average and slug being almost the same.
Yeah, Tony Pena Jr.
Yeah, but that batting average sucked. I'm saying he's 200 points away. But you're right. It is closer to – you're right. That is a better direct line in terms of the Royals. Those are Tony Pena Jr. numbers. MJ Melendez batting 118, getting on base at 130, and slugging 191. That's your designated hitter, your right fielder, and your left fielder.
Well, good thing they all play great defense, too.
And somehow, this team is 7 games over 500. But the sustainability has been the question throughout most of this year, because as the days come and go, as the games come and go, as we have more information, more data, the sample size is bigger and bigger. It's not as small as it was even the day before. Yesterday was another addition to the data for this Royals team. But as we get later and later, it's, okay, what's the sustainability of the record, the wins and losses, given the fact that the offense has been so bad and there are just simply outs in your lineup. That's just, Randy was just highlighting your power positions, your corner outfielders and DH, your power positions, that those guys are slugging 259, 177, 191. Hitting 155, 129, 118. Those are your power positions since April 20th, okay? Not even throwing in, if you want to throw in Kyle Isbell in center field. And you've got your entire outfield plus your designated hitter. So you've got some issues with this team. Obviously, we know that on the offensive end. The first 4/5 because your third baseman, shortstop, first baseman, catcher, second baseman, typically the 1 through 5, have been fine, have been good, even great to this point. It's been good enough to carry the team with how good the pitching and defense has been. But here's where I get really concerned about a regression to the mean. And a regression to the mean, like we talk about, like, I don't think regression to the mean means that at the end of the year, this team is going to have 77 wins, because they're going to fall back so far that what the expectation was 77, and they have won some games that maybe they shouldn't have won. Maybe they've stolen a game here. No, those games are already done. Regression to the mean could mean that you play right around or just below 500 the rest of the season, what you were sort of expected to play, right? These games, that they're 7 games over 500, have already happened. But the offense, the weighted runs created this year for the Royals offense, 100 being average, they have 92, right? Weighted runs created plus, they're at 92.
I guess 100 below average.
100 not being average, but 100, or just the weighted runs created overall this season, 92. They are, but 22nd in Major League Baseball. Yeah. I'll just tell you their rankings in baseball. It didn't even matter average versus what they've driven in, what they've created, etc. We don't even need to get in weighted on base, percentage, or on base average, as they call it.
You call me the nerd.
I know. No, you're much. But I love it. Bring something to the table. That's great. If it's food, it's even better. But the weighted runs created on the season, the Royals are 22nd in all of baseball offensively. Weighted runs created with runners in scoring position, they're 6th in baseball.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal.
Weighted runs created with just simply runners on, they're 3rd in baseball. Weighted runs created with the bases empty, they're 29th in baseball. So they're 22nd overall. Here's my concern. They have the 22nd best offense in creating runs, in the weighted, in the plus, right? But they have been clutchy. They have come through in leverage situations, getting somebody on base, and then that's when they get the hit.
Sure.
That's when they get the extra base hit, when guys are on base. That's when the rally is continuing. They're stringing hits together. Now, is that a skill? Is that the way this team is built? Is it because they have speed on the base paths and the pitcher's worried about that guy at second, so now he hangs one there? Michael Garcia has been a pest at second base the last week. It's been fun to watch. He's got a couple of pitch clock violations for balls on the batter when he's been at second base, dancing around and bouncing and looking like he's going to steal third. That's been fun to watch. Now, maybe that's part of it. The Royals run, they steal bases, you put pressure on the defense, pressure on the pitcher. Okay, now you are creating things. You're hitting in spots that the defense would be if you didn't have runners at first and second. So now you got runners at second and third. They can't do the huge shift if the bases were empty that they might be able to do. So, yeah, that makes sense, which is why I didn't care about the raw number of what the weighted runs created was, just where their ranking was in baseball.
Yeah.
The fact that they're 22nd overall, but they're 6th with runners in scoring position and 3rd with runners on. I don't think that's sustainable. It's not sustainable to be that much better. Your offense is that much better all of a sudden with runners in scoring position, and now you're getting the hits. Now you're doing the things that you're not doing typically with your offense. That, to me, is where, if we're talking about regression, if we're talking about the corner outfielders, the DH, the holes in the lineup, that they have survived, not only survived, they're 7 games over 500, they have ridden their starting staff and their bullpen and their amazing defense to this point. But it is difficult, and it is asking a lot for each and every starter to go out there and go, hey, man, give us 6 innings, 2 runs. 6 innings, 2 earned runs, and we got a chance to win.
At most 2.
Right. Don't give up 3, don't give up 4, because we might be screwed unless one of our guys down in the lineup runs into one, like, Velasquez on Tuesday night. That's where the concern comes into me. They have banked the 26 and 19. With that offense, they've banked that. So even if the runners in scoring position, Sterling starts to come back to earth a little bit, the other parts can improve. The, in general, weighted runs created can start to improve. They're 26-19. You don't have to give that record back. You don't get to start from zero moving forward now with the offense that they have and the struggles that are going on. But what it does do, in my opinion, is it puts some amount, people can argue where that amount is, but it puts some amount of pressure on the front office to say, you cannot move forward and give away the start that you had by not being willing to make a move to try to improve certain spots that have clearly been deficient for this team that you've been able to overcome. But it is a fool's errand to act like you can overcome that for 162. You've done it for 45. Congratulations, but figure something out.
Well, and they tried in the offseason by bringing in Hunter Renfroe to be the floor guy, Adam Frazier to be a floor guy, Garrett Hampson to be, I don't really think a floor guy, but more of just a super utility. So that's fine. They tried, but it's not working, and we'll see how they pivot from here. Now, I do think you were bringing this up as well. You can look at this two ways. One, regression to the mean, where, yes, they've been that poor, pretty much batters 5 through 9. Michael Massey has been very nice, but it's not like Michael Massey's been all of a sudden incredible. He's had some nice plate appearances, but overall he's slashing 235, 238 because he does not walk, and then slugging 395 for an OPS of 633. Again, average is typically around 720 in a given year, 715, 725, but we'll just say for a hypothetical 720.
I just want to interject real quick. Doesn't that sort of paint the picture of what we're talking about, of how bad 6, 7, 8, 9 is? If we don't throw in the number 5 hitter to that group because he's OPSing at 635.
Oh, and we're talking about Maikel Garcia, who's OPS in 657.
Yeah, right.
Like, again, he's the leadoff hitter batting 239 and on base at 288. Adam Frazier has a higher on base percentage than Maikel Garcia.
Just don't OPS 400.
Yes.
And you're in the group of players that you don't feel like are the problem for some reason in this offense.
And so where I'm at is you look at that and you say, okay, regression to the mean, that's not sustainable. Starting pitching, I don't know if they can keep this up. Bullpen, I think, has actually been right in line. They've had some highs, had some lows, but overall, I think you can pretty much believe this is what the bullpen is. I don't expect Schreiber to have a .9, but I also don't expect James McArthur to keep giving him a run every single time he goes out. So I think there's a little bit of, and Chris Stratton's all of a sudden going through a cold spell, while Will Smith, by the way, another scoreless outing.
Yeah.
Is
that 7 in a row?
Nice to see from him.
Yeah.
But I almost look at it as a positive, and maybe it's because I'm an optimistic person. It's funny. I've always been more optimistic with the Royals when things start to look good because we've never had that. And now with the Chiefs, when something looks bad, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. The curse lives on. Where just Brody Croyle, come on, somewhere. So with the Royals, I've always been more optimistic. So part of me is sitting here going, yeah. They've had a decently tough schedule already, and now they've had the White Sox and stuff. Now they have a chance to play the A's. They did what they were supposed to do. They've been 500 on the road. They've taken advantage of the wins at home. They're 26-19 with 5 through 9, and quite frankly, even leadoff being a major issue. They've only had 2 consistent hitters all year, Salvi and Bobby Witt. And Bobby Witt Jr. is going through a slump right now. He's now batting 293, which is crazy to say a slump. But if you watched him right now, he looks a little off. Salvi is still being Salvi. He's taken more walks, which has actually bolstered his dry spells, right? Which is wild to think that Salvador Perez now, when you're watching him, he goes, oh, he actually might lay off that pitch? That seems weird. Vinny's gone through multiple massive slumps this season, and they're still 7 games over. So for me, part of me is thinking, I don't know if the offense can actually get worse. For as good as Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez.
Worse.
Yeah, I know. That's on me. But was that Buddy Bell?
Yeah. Can always get worse.
I just don't see Vinny going on another extended slump. Maikel Garcia, I think, has maybe had his worst stretch of the season, and he's probably going to put that behind him.
Hopefully.
At least hopefully.
Yeah.
And then Salvi and Bobby Witt Jr., looking at the underlying metrics, there's nothing necessarily that makes you think that was a fluke. Again, I don't think Salvi necessarily, hits 323, but when he's taking more walks, the process is looking better for him. It's MJ, it's Velasquez, it's Hunter Renfroe, it's Kyle Isbell, it's Adam Frazier, it's Michael Massey, that's it, actually, because Dyron Blanco, I think, is...
Yeah, he is what he is.
He's been solid.
Right, but he is what he is. He's
and
not
even Garrett
everyday
Hampson's been fine,
fine.
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But
He can fit in a nutshell sometimes, just depending on how big the nutshell is.
how did he
But
get in the nutshell?
I don't know.
Help,
It's
help, get me out of this nutshell.
Incredibly big nutshell. Why is he in there?
Great song by Alice in Chains.
Sure.
But so part of me is just sitting here going, it can't get worse 5 through 9. There's no. I keep saying it can't get worse. It
You
can,
keep
but
saying that like you are
eventually,
playing with fire right now.
Eventually,
That stove
they'll
is hot.
Eventually, they'll try something different. Eventually, Drew Waters, Nick Prado, whoever it is, will be called up. Eventually, if those guys struggle, there's enough time now, and do it now. Don't wait until they cost you 5 games and you're back to around 500. Make the move now while you have some wiggle room, some breathing room.
Yeah, that's sort of my point. Is that you're 7 games over 500. Take advantage of the fact that you're in this position while you have a number of players struggling and not rest on the laurels of saying, we're 7 games over 500 and these guys have been struggling. We're not going to rock the boat. We're not going to upset the apple cart right now because we're fine. We're playing good baseball. We went through a really tough stretch of good teams, and we came out of that thing 7 games over 500. And now you get ready for the A's. Tigers are under 500 coming into town.
But the A's, by the way, are not this pushover
No,
that we all thought they were
they're
going
not.
to be. Now, they're somewhat coming down to earth. They're 19 and 26.
They're the exact opposite record of the Royals. They're 7 games under.
They're on a 4-game losing streak now. Baseball is always
As long as you don't get to Mason Miller, you feel good.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that dude is.
He's a freak.
You just don't go up with the bat.
Yeah.
There's no reason to. It's going to be a strikeout.
Just go up with your
It's silly.
phone just to see what it was like to be in the batter's box. Show everybody else.
Throw it again, please.
Where
My
the GoPro?
camera wasn't fast enough.
Where the GoPro?
The shutter?
Shutter
speed?
The shutter speed wasn't fast enough. Damn it! It missed the pitch. Yeah, he's a freak. But hopefully you don't see him. It would be appropriate if he pitched at least once. With this being HDH weekend, of showing what just an unhittable back end of the bullpen was with Herrera, Davis, and Holland, and then you have a guy that just has some of the most ridiculous stuff that we have seen in a long time, and a guy who was a starter for a while and was trying to go 5 or 6 innings with his stuff, and then they said, what if we just made you a bullpen guy, and now you just throw it in at 102 and 103 and have the ball moving every which way just for 1 inning and embarrass some folks.
Just for people who might not know Mason Miller, to throw this in perspective here, he's pitched 18 and a third innings, 38 strikeouts. Strikeouts per 9 is 18.7, over 2/3 of the batters.
He's almost getting 3 strikeouts every inning.
Yeah, it's 2/3, over 2/3.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're like, oh well, he must be super wild. 5 walks.
No, he's not super wild.
5
He's wild to watch, man. He's
5 walks.
It's wild that that velocity and movement.
7 hits. I feel the 7 hits. How?
Who got hits off that? How'd that happen? It's like looking back, and we were discussing and reminiscing on 2014 yesterday with Mike Swanson about that 2014 run, and we were Mike Swanson told the story of famous last words that after Game 5 in San Francisco, that Swanee is walking with Ned Yost to the interview room, but instead of doing it, behind the dugout in the bowels of the stadium, which I guess goes by where there's like a fan section underneath, and there's also sort of like press conferences or whatever. So instead of taking Ned Yost by them, when you just had a complete game shutout pitched by the other guy, and you're going to the podium as the loser of that game, down 3-2 in the World Series, heading back home, he walked him across the field, and walking him across the field, Madison Bumgarner was finishing up an interview, and Ned Yost gets his attention, and, they shoot the breeze a little bit about being hunters and everything, and they'll have to go hunting, and Ned Yost was like, you know what, amazing pitcher. I'm just glad you did what you did today so I don't have to see you again in the series. Swanee told that story yesterday. Famous last words, right? You're just glad you don't have to see that guy again. But we were reminiscing about that 14 team and that Game 7. And the first batter Bumgarner faced, Infante lined the ball right back up the middle for a hit. And it was like, all right, yeah, this guy only had 2 days rest. I mean, this is the 29th. He pitched on the 26th, a complete game shutout. Okay, you're fine. You're down by 1. Here we go. The next time somebody got on base was the Alex Gordon 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th hit. that skipped by to the wall and ended up at third base. So next time somebody got on base, amazing. And it's a little bit like you're talking about Mason Miller. Like, how did 7 people get a hit off of him? How did that happen?
If you're the Royals right now, Nelson Velasquez and Hunter Renfroe are.
Yes, I'm trading Velasquez for Acuna. Yes, I'll do that.
But even MJ Melendez would extend.
For Acuna, yeah, I'll throw him in there too. If that sweetens the deal for the Braves.
I think MJ's in a slightly different category. One, he's a left-handed bat. One, he has actually been decent defensively, a little quicker, and I think because of the potential and all that stuff, he's a little longer leash. But between Hunter and Nelson, which one do you stick with? Obviously, you have the contract of Hunter to think about.
Hunter's a better defender. You can do different. You can bat Hunter DH and play him in right field if you need to. Velasquez is DH only, and you don't need him being in the field at all. So that's an easy one for me.
And he's a player option. But at what point do we see a change? At what point do we see even if it's Nick Lofton being called back up for when do you think we will actually see a change to the roster?
I would like it to be soon.
I don't care what you like, but do you actually have like a feel? You're like, you know what? This point of the season,
20 more games.
You think 20 more?
Yeah, I think this is this will be a good litmus test of this front office and coaching staff compared to years past. Because years past it would be, no, we're not doing that. We're sticking with it. We're sticking with it. We're sticking with it. This is the plan. We're sticking with it. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. Okay? It's going to be fine. It's going to work. We're sticking with it. This is the decision we made in the offseason. We're not getting rid of Hunter Renfroe. No way. We identified somebody to play right field. He's going to play right field. He's struggling right now. A little bit of a slow start. He's a slow starter anyway. We're going to stay with him. Velasquez, we traded for him for a reason. We're going to stay with him. It's going to be fine. So I think it'll be a while. But to me, the litmus test is if they do something soon to show that we are different in a lot of different ways, even though it's hiring from within and J.J. Piccolo from Dayton Moore. It's different in that regard if here soon they go, we've given it 45 games, 200 plate appearances. It's not working. And if we were right around 500 or something like that, maybe we'd feel a little bit different. But we got a real chance here. If the season ended right now, they'd be in the playoffs. They'd be the second wild card team right now. They have done that to this point. They have taken advantage of those things. But now, do you just simply give it back for the sake of, no, we're staying true to our guys? Or do you take advantage of that and find ways that aren't going to hurt 2025 and 2026 to get better this year and walk that tightrope? Because that is a tightrope to watch. I don't want to put 25 and 26 at risk so that they can get a game or two better this year and not go and win the World Series or make a deep run in the playoffs if you've got a real chance to do that next year, the year after that, or whatever it might be. If you want to make a big trade with one of your prospects like they did with Will Myers to go and get a Shields and a Davis, if you want to do that this offseason and really make a go of it, yeah, I don't want to hurt something like that so that you make a difference here. But I don't think they need that just to find marginal increases from your corner outfielders and your designated hitter, even coming from within.
Well, I mean, if you hit 250 on base, 300, slugging 350, that's more than marginal. That's a massive improvement over, again, better. That's well worse than league average, especially for positional value, but still that's a big improvement over what has been. One of my, I don't want to say concerns, there's not a lot of prospects in the Royals, or at least highly touted prospects in the Royals farm system right now. That's just not rated very good. I wonder if the Royals would have to actually get rid of a guy, and this would be painful, a guy like John Schreiber. Do you try and sell high on a Schreiber who has a .9 ERA? Again, we don't know if that's sustainable. He's been phenomenal all season long. Would a team say, in contention, say, all right, fine, we need bullpen help. We have an extra outfielder right now who's just toiling away right now. Could we use him? If you're trying to get creative with it and say, okay, let's not look at the Marlins. Let's not look at the Rockies who have no one that we want. Let's look at another playoff team.
It's a fantasy baseball trade to where you got two teams that are sort of in it, and you need this guy, I need that position. Let's make a little swap, and we move forward.
Well, it's almost like, I'm just top of my head, it wouldn't happen. I don't even know what the contract looks like. Let's just say like Alex Verdugo from the Yankees, right? They have a plethora of outfield guys already. Do they need Verdugo? Do they need a bullpen piece instead? One of those type of moves, that to me, with another playoff team, could make some sense. But I think the Royals might have to get creative with the lack of depth in the minor leagues.
I would not be opposed to them trading some of their bullpen pieces if it gets later on, because they showed that they could get Cole Reagans for Chapman. And if this staff is able to identify those things and then coach them to that,
Sure.
yeah, I'll trade Aroldis Chapman for Cole Reagans. I'll trade the Schreiber for a guy that can do that for your team, even if it means, oh my goodness, now you're worse this year. Yes, because what's the bigger picture? The ultimate picture. We know what's possible. And I know that it's like, well, if you just get in the tournament, the Diamondbacks proved last year, just get in, and all of a sudden they're in the World Series. The Royals in 2014 proved, just get in. You're in the World Series, And then they went and said, no, we're going to go make some Kendrys Morales, Edison Volquez. We're making some moves so that we are going to make that push to win the World Series. But even in 2013, when it's like, man, if you can you get there? Can you make the wild card? Didn't work out. 2012. Oh, you're starting to be a little more competitive, right? What was it, back-to-back 11 and 12 where they won like 72, 73 games or something like that? But you just felt like it was different, and then they made the move for, Davis and Shields to make more of a push to go for it. And then it ultimately, resulted in what we know, having the reunion for this weekend out at Kauffman Stadium. But to me, it's what's the bigger picture? What's the long-term view of this group of players? How can you be successful this year? Can you find a way to get into the playoffs this year without hurting 2025 and 2026? And can you find a way to get into the playoffs this year and maybe even help 2025 or 2026?
Yeah.
Because if somebody's willing to give up a prospect that, by the way, this coaching staff that takes a Reagans and helps turn him into this guy, he had that, but you had to hone it. Takes an Alec Marsh, who didn't really show much in terms of numbers in the minors, and turns him into this guy.
Zerpa, I think, is a great example, too.
Right. Zerpa, what he's doing, I mean, he's got 7 consecutive outings without giving up a run now.
1.56 ERA in 17 and a thirds innings.
Yeah. You've got, they're identifying Seth Lugo, willing to give him a 2-year contract with a player option for the 3rd year. If he's pitching like this, he won't pick up the player option for $15 million in 1 year. He'll be here 2 years, and then he'll probably go somewhere else and get $25 million.
Sure.
At that point. But you're willing to do that because you identified that. Michael Wacha, whether it's helping him develop a slider. Brady Singer, ditch the changeup, try the 4-seam. Let's go with that. Are you more comfortable with that? You are? Okay, great. Let's do that then. Whatever you are comfortable with, let's hone the skills you have. MacArthur, seeing what he can be as a closer when he was DFA'd this time last year.
Yeah.
And getting him for pennies and honing his skills and magnifying the things that he does well while trying to eliminate some of the other things. This coaching staff at least has shown me that if they identify something, I feel better about their development than the previous staff, which it didn't really matter.
Well, and also, I'm not trying to just say John Schreiber because I know he's been phenomenal, and you don't want to get rid of a phenomenal pitcher. But part of me is sitting here going, if you believe in Will Klein, if you believe in John McMillan, right, who's coming back from injury, if you believe in those two guys, you believe that what Zerpa's doing is sustainable, you're sitting here going, you're going to have to make a move that hurts. I mean, no team's just saying, give away anything and we'll give you a great player. That's not how it works, especially if you want a ready major league player right now, and you're not wanting to look at the Rockies or Miami, a team that's in the cellar. You don't really want anyone from. We've tried the Brett Rooker experience once in Kansas City. I don't think you want that back with the Athletics. So if you want to make a move, you might have to trade the contender, and it's going to be a player you're not going to want to give up. And if you believe in the bullpen, as you're mentioning right now, you believe in Brian Sweeney, and you're not believing in the ability to develop corner outfielders, then get a polished corner outfielder, and you're going to have to trade away a guy. And I think there's a situation where you can find that win-win, and if I'm the Royals, I do it sooner rather than later, because I do think you can replace Schreiber easier than trying to replace the disaster that is 3 black holes in the outfield.
Let's take a break. I want to ask this question. If we believe and have shown that there is some modicum of trust and deferral to what we've seen with this regime so far. It's clearly not to the level of Brett Veach and the Chiefs and Andy Reid of, okay, they're doing this, I'll trust that they're going to do that, right? But we've seen a difference in what this front office coaching staff has done. If there's a level of that, a degree of that, then I'll ask the question, we'll talk about it on the other side of the break, then why haven't they made a move yet with one of these guys that we feel like should be up by now, with a Waters or Prado, who's been up and down in terms of his success down in the minor leagues, or a smaller ancillary trade that may be out there? Why haven't they done that if we feel like there's some trust in their identification and identifying certain players that can come up and make a difference? There's got to be some reason, right? If they haven't done that, we'll talk about it next. issues that people have with the schedule. Certainly those 3 games from December 15th to December 25th that take place there, the early bye week, the main ones that people were not too happy about. If there's a level of trust in what the coaching staff has done in developing and what the front office has done, and we all think like something needs to be done soon, like they need to make a decision soon with their outfielders, and maybe it's Drew Waters.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Maybe it's Nick Prado. Sure, that's fine. Maybe it's De Jesus. See what he can do. Bring him back. Let's find out. Why haven't they done it yet? And do we really think it's around the corner? Like, do we really think it's going to be soon if that's the case? Because my fear is there's still that level of, now it's too soon for us to pull the cord on this and eject with Velazquez and send him down and bring up somebody else that might just be rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and at least Velazquez can run into one from time to time like he did against the Mariners.
Well, I think that's potentially the thought process, is that Velazquez showed last year 17 home runs and 179 at-bats. I mean, that's absurd. That's Barry Bonzian almost. We knew it wasn't sustainable, but he showed you a glimpse of the power. And once he hit that one in Seattle, you're sitting here going, okay, well, maybe he's about to turn a corner. My issue is Renfroe and Nelson are, to me, interchangeable. They're the same style of player, but Renfroe is a better defensive player, while Nelson, quite frankly, as bad as he's been, has been a little bit of a better bat. He strikes out way more. Hunter Renfroe, interestingly, has not struck out a ton this year compared to, I think, his norms, which is making all this a little more interesting.
It also makes it even worse that he's not striking out much and still batting 150.
Yes, not ideal. but he
just put the ball in play. I am.
he has a contract, and there's a 2-year deal, and it makes things more convoluted. And you have the ability to send down MJ, but you have the ability to also send down Nelson. They have options. I'm a little surprised one of those 2 guys have not been sent down. But part of me, and one, you've brought this up, is because they're trying to trade a prospect, a Drew Waters, trade a Nick Prado while they're doing fine in the minors, and they know that, hey, they're not fitting into our long-term plan in the majors. We know what they are. They're quad A guys. Let's see if we can get a team to bite, because the second we call them up and they start batting 130, they no longer have trade value. That could be part of the equation. And then 2, I think Jack actually brought this one up last week or so. The concern is if you send down Nelson Velazquez, he's done. The issue is you send down MJ Melendez and they languish in AAA. They might never figure it out again, and you're done. Now, again,
but if he's not good enough then to figure it out at AAA, then he was never going to figure it out in the majors.
Agreed. Agreed. But I think
that
there's part of you that says, oh, man, well, he's here now. We've seen what he's done before. Let's see if he can figure it out while he's here. I just don't see that happening. Again, I would have liked to see a move. Well, if you knew me, I wanted Drew Waters on the opening day roster, but I don't get paid for that to make that happen. I think, and hopefully something happens soon. As you're mentioning, last week, the potential trade for Luis Ariz, at least the inquiry into seeing what it might take to acquire him. Well, that changes things. That shows that they're looking and actively trying. I am just a little surprised they've not made a call-up or a move. Again, 45 games in. We're not talking 20. We're not talking 30. For me, I said the 40-game mark is when you really start taking a look. We're now at 45.
Yeah. I don't see the harm in sending Velazquez down. If the Orioles are sending Jackson Holliday back down, and he's got so much talent, so good, and they're like, you know what, it ain't working, we're going to send him back down. They're not sending him back down and saying, well, now he's broken because now he doesn't believe he's going to get it done. No, he'll figure it out because he's too damn talented. But right now he's not doing it, and the Orioles look at it and go, we can't carry this bat in our lineup while we're competing in the American League East against the Yankees, against the Rays, while the Royals are going, we're doing this while competing against the American League Central. oh, wait, this isn't the American League Central of what we thought it was going to be of yesteryear, of even if it was improved this year. We didn't think it was going to be, multiple teams, 3 different teams playing like 590 baseball.
It's the AL East.
That's right. Like, this is a tougher division so far from the 45 games in record-wise, winning percentage-wise. And if they're going to look at it and go, well, we're going to send down Jackson Holliday, then there should be no fear from the Royals of saying, well, we'll send down Nelson Velazquez and see if somebody comes up and gives us a boost. And maybe it's well, Drew Waters isn't going to be the answer. Yeah, he may come up for a couple of weeks and get hot, but ultimately he's going to turn into the guy that he has been. I'll take 2 weeks of hot from Drew Waters rather than 2 weeks of suck that's coming from Nelson Velazquez. And maybe in those 2 weeks, he can get some things figured out down in AAA, and then maybe you bring him up. But you're trying to figure some things out. He is. This is not like a sacred cow or anything for Velazquez. Like, you traded Jose Cuas for him. You didn't give up Blake Mitchell. Like, you didn't trade, your top prospect for this guy, and it's got to work. You traded Jose Cuas for Velazquez. It would be awesome if it works. But if it doesn't, then it was found money last year and taken a chance that maybe it could continue, but it hasn't shown that it can continue so far, except for the 3 home runs he has this year.
Yep.
45 games, 3 home runs. Come on.
Jose Cuas, by the way, 7.2 ERA this season in 7 games, 10 innings. He wasn't making the roster this year, so it's not like, again, just to your point, you didn't give up a lot for him, so you feel forced to, which I think is always a horrible move to begin with. I'm a big sunk cost guy.
Oh, me too.
Once the dude's on your team, sunk cost.
Yes.
Where you drafted him doesn't matter. It's a sunk cost. He is what he is. So I'm sitting here going, why not try anything?
Yeah. Just to figure that bottom part of the lineup out.
Jackson Holliday, by the way, he's starting to rake again in AAA because why? He went back and is going back to a lower stance. They figured it out down there because you can work on things in the minors more so than the majors. The spotlight's not on you.
Yeah. You're
not sitting here freaking out, especially on a playoff caliber team, which the Royals are right now. Spotlight's on you. Now. No, send Nelson down. Figure it out. He couldn't hit an inside pitch. Now, I know he just took one 430 to left field, but that's one. That's one. Show me consistency. Let him go to the minors and figure it out. Let him figure out how to hit an inside pitch consistently.
913-912-4810. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. We got Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. More Zone next.
All right, again, if you haven't heard, Greenlight Dispensary is helping everyone out this May with a no hangovers May at Greenlight Dispensary. Their best cure for the worst part about a good time is to give everyone special pricing on their Flower Box special this month. Flower Box special.
Why not?
Antioch, the one right there, 95th.
Why not? Go ahead and do the dang thing. So there you go, $25 to Johnny's Tavern. Update, Roy McIlroy ends his first round 5 under. That's 4 shots off the lead. Xander Schauffele is leading 9 under with his opening round of 62. I believe 2 other times he's had a 62 in a major. He had a birdie putt to shoot a 61, but the birdie putt was like 30 feet.
Dog, imagine shooting a 62.
I can't imagine. Yes, on the front 9. I can imagine doing that. I shot a 62, but I felt so good I didn't play the back 9. Finau's in second place, but he still has 1 hole to go. He's 6 under. He's 3 shots back, but he is on the 18th right now. There's your update with the PGA Championship going on today. All right, categories on the sports side. The category what we're going to go with is we're just going to simply go with some Royals. We have some general Royals, and we have 2014 Royals. So general Royals questions, and then 2014 Royals questions. That's what we got today. It's the 10-year anniversary of the 2014 team. Take it or leave it. That's the category on the sports side. That's what we're doing. Embrace the fun and enjoy this weekend celebrating the greatness that was that 14 team that was 90 feet away from tying in Game 7. What about on the leisure side? What we got?
We have Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric. We have music trivia. We still have a few of those left after 2 weeks ago since you were gone last week and didn't do this, and I was bummed.
Oh, that's your fault.
Then we also have Let's Get Cultured on this show.
We should get cultured.
Name the book. Okay, we do the IDMB sometimes, but this time we're doing Name That Book.
Okay. Will you give them the author? They got a name.
They'll get
the
some
title.
Hints. They will get hints, and a
my
couple of them
God.
actually have been movies. Name the title. I'll give you the author because I'm a generous man.
Fascinated to see how many people choose that category. I really am. I'm not being a smartass. I really am curious to see how many people choose.
They're books that
particular
everyone has
category.
heard of. I'm not.
I would hope so.
I'm not going.
Be odd if they hadn't heard of them.
Yeah, I'd be a rude man if I did that.
You probably would be. You've been called much worse. All right, I'm good to go. We all good to go? I got thumbs up back there. I need to know.
Well, let's roll. Let's roll.
Let's party.
All right, 913-381-0810. Let's go to Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, bud?
Let's go to
Charles. Radio Charles. Okay, let's go to Chuck. Charles will come back to you in a second. Turn your radio down. Chuck, next up on Sports Radio 810. Chuck, what side do you want to start with, man? Sports or leisure?
Let's go with sports.
All right, we got Royals or 2014 Royals?
2014 Royals.
2014 Royals. I love it. You know what? Let's just go with a regular season one here. The same player led the Royals in home runs and RBIs in 2014. Most home runs, most RBIs on the team by the same player.
Doesn't happen to be
Pretty
your.
sure that was Gordo.
Alex Gordon is correct. Nice job, Gordon. What were you going to say? Is that?
I know. I was thinking 15. I was thinking of.
Kendress
Yeah,
Morales?
yeah. It
No,
doesn't
that's
have to be
15.
your favorite free agent signing of all time, does it?
Of all time. No. No, 2014, Alex Gordon led him in home runs and RBIs, and I believe with everyday players on base percentage as well. He's a good player, turns out. Also, pretty decent left fielder, I've been told. I don't know. What about leisure with Sterling?
Well, do you have any Nori Aoki questions, possibly?
We don't have
Did he
any
write a
Nori
book?
Aoki. I don't think he wrote a book.
that
We
would've
have
been great
Sing
if
Me
he
a
did.
Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric. We have Let's Get Culture on the show, Name the Book. I did beer last
Name
week.
the book, guys.
Oh, let's go.
Look at you, 1 for 1. How
Yes.
about it, Chuck?
Yes. Just for you, I'll give you
Just for
a slightly easier one. One of my favorite books of all time, this satirical war novel by American author Joseph Heller. He began writing this in 1953 and then it was published in 1961. Often cited as one of the most significant novels of the 20th century, there's now a catchphrase that came from this book. It mainly follows the life of Captain John Yozarian, a U.S. Army Air Force's B-25 bombardier.
Well, if Travis Kelce had wrote it, I might call it Catch 87. But because he didn't, I'm going to say Catch 22.
Love that. You
Could be
nailed
Trent
it.
Why didn't Trent McDuffie write it? Trent
He
McDuffie
didn't catch
could.
anything.
He hasn't had an interception in his career, has he? Trent McDuffie has yet to have an interception in his career. How much does he suck? I'm sorry, you can't be a good cornerback if you can't catch the freaking football from the opposing quarterback. All pro my ass. Comma.
Don't
Yeah,
put those words
There's
in
a
my mouth.
comma.
Yeah, where's the comma?
There's a
And
comma in there.
People
All right.
might not know you're being facetious right now, and I
Obviously,
don't
people
like
know that.
Hey, by the way, that's how it's done. See, books, not that bad. We're getting culture on this show.
Books are not bad. I totally agree with that. Chuck will put you on hold. Congratulations, man. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. 913-381-1010. Let's check back in with Charles here on Sports Radio 810. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do sports.
All right, we got Royals or 2014 Royals.
Let's just do General Royal.
General Royals for you. All right, Bobby Witt Jr. is on pace for 76 extra base hits this year. And that's with the little bit of a slump going on because he was on pace for like 80. Small, a little bit off the pace earlier. That is 10 shy of the Royals' record for extra base hits in a season. Who holds the record for extra base hits in a season for the Royals with 86?
86.
86 extra base hits in 1 year. Witt was on pace to be right around that earlier this year. And he, by the way, he can get hot again and be right. I mean, he may break the record this year. Again, he's pacing for 76, and that's with a little bit of a slump. He gets hot, and he's going to push that pace back over that. But I think he'll be flirting with that. If he's healthy all year, I think he'll be flirting with the record by this guy. I almost said the name right there.
It wasn't Michael Franco, was it?
It was not.
Surprisingly, okay.
Nope, it wasn't
Pretty
Juan
sure
Gonzalez.
that would be Hal McRae.
Hal McRae in 77 had 86 of them in one season. Still the record for your Kansas City Royals. It is Hal McRae. We'll see if Bobby Witt can surpass that. On to Sterling on the leisure side.
What's the category other than the name of the book?
Oh, man.
Appreciate
we have
you.
Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric. And then we also have Music Trivia.
Ooh, let's do music trivia.
All right. All right. The lead singer of the band Rainbow and at one point Black Sabbath. He severed his thumb during a gardening accident when a heavy garden gnome fell on it. While he may have only been 5'4", he was known for having one of the most powerful vocals of all time.
Wow, Rainbow.
Also think of Black Sabbath. His solo stuff consists of Holy Diver.
Interesting. I can't help you on this one, by the way. Just so you know, I can even give some random hints.
Do you know Black
So-
Sabbath very well or the band Rainbow?
A little bit.
I know
Yeah.
Rainbow Sabbath, but I don't know.
No,
the
you know,
two separate ones.
you should know. It's the second Heaven and Hell era Black Sabbath. Actually created a spin-off of Black Sabbath called Heaven and Hell at one
Oh.
point. Yeah.
Interesting.
Passed away, one of the best metal vocalists of all time. 5'4". He's very, very short man, but surprisingly really gets down in there.
Let's see. Ronnie James.
Yeah, baby. Ronnie James Dio.
Nice.
That is Dio.
Just writing that down of what Sterling.
What'd I say? What'd I say?
Hey, Charles will put you on hold. Congratulations, man. Well done.
Super duper, man.
Absolutely. 913-381-1010 is the phone number. Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure?
I guess sucks so bad at Googling. You thought the guy's name was Ronnie James.
Yeah,
James was his last name.
I know, it's
I know,
just
it's great,
Dio.
right? I know,
I'm
right?
just
It's
like,
awesome.
everyone knows him as Dio. That was really making me laugh. I'm like, okay. Okay.
All right, Jason, I'll throw your ass. Let's do 2014 Royals.
What did he say? I missed that. Oh, what?
Did you say you'll throw his ass?
Okay. All pro?
I'll pro your ass.
All pro your ass.
Oh,
That's
all
right.
pro
Okay.
your ass.
Yeah,
Wow.
all pro your ass. Okay.
Wow.
That's fine. I don't know what it means, but I'm, willing to take on the challenge, I guess. I don't know what that means either, but do you want Royals or 2014 Royals?
Let's do 2014 Royals.
2014 Royals. Good for you. Pitchers that threw at least 100 innings in 2014 who led the team in ERA. With at least 100 innings pitched, had the best ERA that year.
Duffy?
You son of a gun. Yeah, Danny Duffy is correct. Yeah, it was the Duffmeister. 2.53 ERA for Danny Duffy in his 140 innings pitched that year. So yeah, there you go. The question I was gonna go with is of the starters, but Duffy pitched out of the bullpen a few times that year during the regular season.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
So 140 innings. There you go, Duffy. Now I want to come up with a different question.
Avery,
for you
that was
the-
nails.
Yeah,
That was-
whatever.
that was
whatever.
impressive.
It's Avery. Don't give him.
Well, I'll give him the hardest question we have on here.
Of which category? He hadn't
Well,
even told you yet.
whichever one he picks.
Yes.
We have music trivia. We have Let's Get Cultured on this show, Name the Book. And then we also have Sing Me a Song to Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric.
Let's do this culture.
All right, let's get cultured, baby. You know what? I'll give you the most cultured one. I've been reading this book for 5 years at least, only halfway through. This Tolstoy book chronicles the French invasion of Russia and its aftermath during the Napoleonic era. It uses 5 interlocking narratives following different Russian aristocrat families to illustrate Napoleon's impact on the Tsarist society.
War and Peace?
War and Peace, baby. You nailed it.
Who's Warren Peace? Is he related to Warren Buffett? Is it Mr. Peace?
I have been reading this book for at least 5 years, and I'm halfway through it. The Rostovs and it's just
Sounds exciting. Let me tell you.
It got exciting for about 100 pages, and then it
cool.
got back into
No, now I'm really trying to dredge through this.
the peace part is really just there's nothing going on.
Yeah,
Shocker.
I took Russian in college for 3 years, and I went to Russia for 6 weeks. Never had the desire to read that book.
No Dostoevsky either. No Fyodor.
No, I like the Master and Margarita is the only Russian book I've ever liked.
There we go, baby.
Avery, will put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Well done, as usual.
Bolshaya pobjeda.
That's awesome. I don't know if he cussed in Russian or if
I
that
think
was.
he said super duper.
Was that super
That
duper?
means big win.
Big win.
Wow, awesome.
Big win. Nice job, Avery. Now we learn more about Avery. So there you go. He's been to Russia, studied Russian.
It's like an onion.
He really is.
So many layers.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of layers to Avery, and pretty good. We just got to continue to find. I have a question here in the 2014 Royals that I wish I would have asked him, but I missed my shot. Matt next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt, sports or leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. What side do you want to start with, the sports side or the leisure side?
Let's try 2014 Royals.
2014 Royals for you. Okay. So let's look at the wild card game for 2014. The Royals were trailing 7-6 in the bottom of the 9th inning. Who led off the 9th with a single? He was pinch run for with Dyson. Dyson was bunted over to second, stole third. Who led off the bottom of the 9th with a single? So much happened in that game, by the way. There was like weeks worth of stuff in that game. It's unbelievable. You're correct, Sterling.
I am right, yeah.
You
That's
are
what I
right,
thought, yeah.
yes. Yep.
I was there, so I hope I remembered, but it's...
Well, I mean...
There's
a lot of things that I needed reminders of in
Yeah.
looking up some of these questions. Like,
It was
yeah,
a bloop.
that's
It was
right.
a bloop to right.
It was.
I mean, it was a bloop to right.
It was. Got jammed, right?
Yeah, he
And-
did.
and
Yeah, just-
muscled it into right field. And it's like, man, you know what? That acquisition paid for itself right there.
Think
I was-
acquisition.
Yeah. A
I
little,
was wondering if it was one
Well-
of those random acquisitions.
little hinty there, huh? A little hinty.
Very much random.
Yeah.
So given that, I will get Willingham, Josh Willingham.
Yeah.
Josh Willingham led off with the single, and if he did nothing else, he did his job. He was worth the acquisition right there.
He was brutal for the Royals until he did that.
Bottom of the ninth. That's all he
Yeah.
needed to do was get Mr. Zumbaya out there on first to find his way over to third with less than one out. All right, over to Leisure with Sterling.
What do you like? In music trivia, let's get cultured, which is name the book, or finish the lyric.
Let's keep it with culture.
All right, we're a very cultured show.
Nice.
I did beer last time, so I feel like I have to balance these things out.
Do what you got to do.
All right. A 1953 dystopian novel by American writer Ray Bradbury. It presents a future American society where books have been outlawed and firemen burn any that are found.
Oh man, it's one of two.
Ray.
It's Fahrenheit 451.
Yes, nails.
Nice job. Well
Nails.
done.
What,
Well done.
what was the other book you were thinking of? Was
Fahrenheit
it-
452.
I was thinking 1984.
Yes,
Just like
yeah.
dystopian.
Yeah, I think Ray Bradbury, though. I had to throw that in, or else I think I was going to get a lot of 1984s.
Yeah.
That's Orwellian.
That's what I would have guessed that one. So I'm glad that you did that for Matt. Matt, hold on. We will get your information. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
See, we are just coming up with winners after winners after winners. Very cultured show. We will take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. It's a little sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. More to go, more winners to get here on this Thursday edition. More Zone next.
Well, not a hit. Pull sack fly.
Yeah. But he flirted with it for a while. There was a
We all
was
thought,
like a second and a
all
half.
of the K was like,
was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what he scored?
Guy we brought in, or
What's that?
was he a guy we brought in, or?
He wasn't long for the Royals, but he wasn't a mid-season acquisition.
Lefty.
Mm-hmm. While
Kennerson
also,
Alice.
that is incorrect, Jeff. Thank you for playing, my friend. Kendris was a switch hitter. I was also going to say lefty, but more right is what he played.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Brian next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brian, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Do sports. I think I know that 2014 question.
Yeah, go right ahead. Who hit the sacrifice fly?
Is it Nori Aoki?
It was Nori Aoki there in the ninth for just, would you say like a second and a half of feeling like this had a
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Is this a walk-off?
Longer than that.
Because I don't even remember who was in right field that game, but fading back and going, and then you saw him start to slow down, and you're like, it's not going to have enough. But got the run in. Here we go.
Could
Got
have
the
been
run in.
Cole Calhoun potentially at that point, maybe.
I don't know. I'm going to take your word for it, whoever it is. But yeah, so there you go. It is Nori Aoki, the right answer there. On to leisure with Sterling.
What you
Can
feeling?
I have a music trivia question, please?
Oh, heck yes. Ooh.
Your trivia, your music knowledge for your age is amazing. I assume
Agreed.
it's because because of your mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, both my parents were DJs, but my mom,
Yep.
she did Max Tanner and Moffat forever on KY.
Yeah.
So
I listen to them forever. Yep.
now
Love
we
that
got a little
My mom worked for USDA, so I got a lot of beef knowledge.
big beef guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Big beef guy.
Jason loves beef. All right, this is a fun one.
Now we got beef.
This album came 15 years after this legendary classic rock band's previous covers-only album. It was the first album without 3 key members on it. It was streamed over 3 million times, breaking the MySpace record for the most streamed album ever, with reported cost reaching over $13 million. Known as the most expensive rock album ever produced.
You know,
Wow, I don't-
You know what MySpace is?
I can give you some help
Sterling.
too, because this was a tough one. The covers only album was the Spaghetti Incident, which might probably give it away.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that gives it away.
Yep.
But
So we're talking like Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy?
Chinese Democracy by GNR. Yeah, I thought that was crazy. The 15 years after a covers only album, that was their last album since what was it, 1993.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And that was basically, Chinese Democracy was basically an Axl Rose solo album that
correct.
like 50 musicians played on.
There were like 30 different guitarists on it, and they produced it. That's why I thought the 13 million most expensive rock album. They traveled all over the world to try and find different studios, and basically everyone got fed up with Axl, like Buckethead and all these famous guitarists, and then
Yep.
Sure.
finally got produced.
I saw them twice with I saw them at Memorial Hall. Not Memorial Hall. They played Midland one time, and they actually played Kemper one time. And it was still a damn good show. You know, the Axl only GNR.
Oh yeah,
Sterling, how many times have you seen Guns N' Roses in concert?
I have never seen Guns N' Roses, but
You
I
liar.
did see Axl Rose with AC/DC. When Brian Johnson lost his voice, he filled in for I don't know how many shows, 8 shows with AC/DC, and that was really badass. You could tell he was enjoying singing something different for him.
Yeah.
I was
cool.
at that AC/DC show, which was Brian Johnson's last show, which was in Kansas City.
I think I was there too, with a whole lot of Rosie and the train coming through and everything.
Yep.
Yep, I was
Did you
there
guys-
too.
did you guys go
I wonder
together?
if we're
Did you
probably,
carpool?
hanging out. Yeah.
Did you carpool? That's cool.
I'm sorry. I'll quit running my mouth. I love you guys. I'll enjoy the show, man.
Brian, thank you for playing. Congratulations. We'll put you on hold, get your information. Nice job, man.
Thanks, man.
Well done. How about that? You guys, kindred spirits.
Look at
You and
that.
Brian, you were there that night. You both know. He might have been at the wild card game too, where you were. How many different times do you think you and Brian have been in the exact same spot together and never knew it?
7.
I think that's a good guess. 7. Same number of guesses that you had of the preview leaks of the Chiefs' schedule. You were wrong about that too. So
Righter than you, though.
You were right. Calmer than you are.
Calmer than you are, dude.
Let's go to Cajun next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Cajun, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Let's start with leisure, please.
All right, we got Sing Me a Song of the Piano Man, which has finished the lyric. We have music trivia, and we have Let's Get Cultured on this show. Name the book.
Name the book.
All right. This book was also a movie. I've not seen the movie, but the book was phenomenal. A 2005 novel by American author Cormac McCarthy, who had originally written the story as a screenplay. The story occurs in the vicinity of the Mexico-United States border in 1980 and concerns an illegal drug deal gone awry in the Texas desert backcountry.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. Phenomenal book. I've not seen the movie, but that book was
Movie was
unreal.
better. Movie was better. Yeah.
I am going to have to read the book.
Yeah. No, movie was better. You're good, Cajun. You're not missing anything.
Oh, okay.
It was written as a screenplay, so it was pretty much,
No,
from
the
I
movie
could
was-
tell, verbatim.
I haven't read the book, but I'm just going to assume the movie was better. Yeah. I enjoyed the movie a lot, so
I'm trying to
it only
get
took 2
cultured
hours.
on this
I
show,
agree. I
Jason.
appreciate it. That's what you bring to the table. All right. And I appreciate the movie watching. You've read the book. I've seen the movie. You haven't seen the movie. I haven't read the book.
We shake hands in the middle.
That's exactly right. Now we can compare notes. Let's come together and compare
You know
notes.
my favorite quote. You know my favorite quote from that movie.
What is it?
If the rules you have followed, what is it? The rules you followed led you here. What good was it or something? Can you help me out?
No, it's along those lines. It's
Yeah.
like if I'm trying to think of the way it led you. What good are they? And then you don't have to do this. Everybody says that. Everybody, it's a,
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
the flip of a coin. No, it's not a flip of the coin. It is, because everything you've done has led you to this point. This is your choice. It's your. Oh man,
Put it in your pocket.
Yeah, that word was, or that sentence was badass in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know about the movie, but it was badass in the book.
Oh, it was amazing, and it was even better in the movie. Hearing
the emotion shining through.
Oh my goodness, man, gave me chills. I'm like, this guy just is obviously a sociopath.
How do they pronounce his name in the movie?
Anton Chigurh.
Sugar. Okay.
Did you call him Sugar?
Yeah, I thought it was sugar. It's written really weird. It's like CHURGH. I'm like, what? I don't know how to pronounce this.
On to sports. Let's go with we got General Royals, or we have 2014 specific.
Oh, let's try 2014.
2014 Royals for you. All right.
Okay.
Let's stick with the wild card theme. This is the last question I have about that wild card game. Let's stick with the wild card theme. So the bottom of the 12th inning, Royals were down by a run. Hosmer gets the one-out triple. That was so close to being a home run, but gets the one-out triple. Who drove Hosmer in and then also scored the winning run on Salvi's single?
Oh man. Oh man, he wasn't a long timer, was he?
He was a longtime organizational guy.
First rounder.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't remember. Oh, sorry, man, I can't remember, and my Google machine is broke.
Wait. Well, let's give some help. Alliterative name, right?
Yeah.
Alliterative name.
It was alliterative. Yeah. It was the same sounding first and last name.
Well, not same sounding, but same.
Literally
letter.
same letter.
Yeah,
Yes.
same letter. Yeah.
No, it's a.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give up, man. I'm gonna waste your time.
Cajun, you're the man. I appreciate you, brother. All right,
That was awesome.
913-381-0810. Also, by the way, a pretty big freaking hit in next year's World Series. So
Also part of your body. No.
yeah, no, it's
Right?
You're
Right?
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Also, particular could be just a general sort of term for someone who's religious. Let's go to Shane next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shane, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Hi, guys. Can I start with the music trivia, please?
Oh, yeah. All right. Although his mainstream career spanned only 4 years, he is widely regarded as the greatest and one of the most influential electric guitarists in the history of popular music, playing mostly a right-handed guitar that were turned upside down and then restrung it for left-handed playing.
That's Jimi Hendrix.
That is Jimi Hendrix.
Nice job.
Yeah, you
Well done.
right-handed guitar back then and just restrung it to flip it around for lefty.
That's what I did for my son's left-handed glove. Just
Restrung it?
Restrung everything, turned it into a right-handed glove. It's weird. On to the sports side. We got General Royals, or we have 2014 Royals?
I want to take that 14 question that's out there, please.
All right. Who drove in Eric Hosmer and then came around and scored on Salvi's single, the game winner in the bottom of the 12th?
That's Christian Cologne.
Christian Cologne, who also had that huge double in the extra innings in Game 5 against the Mets in the World Series. So obviously it was a great draft pick. Obviously, it's a first. That's what you get out of a first rounder. You get a guy like that.
Playoff hits.
That's no doubt. It's like
more than
MVS.
Mike Trout.
It's playoff MVS. It's playoff Christian Cologne. It's playoff C squared. Is what it is. Shane, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations. Well done.
Super duper, fellas.
Yes. 913-381-810. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, see if we have time left to play a little more sports or leisure. 913-381-810. $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We're giving away as we continue with sports or leisure on a Thursday. More Zone next. 913-381-0810. Do have a little more time for sports or leisure here. First in, first on, 913-381-0810. Tweet comes from Cajun.
Yeah.
Said, if the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?
What a great line.
I mean, it's just...
Shout out to Cajun. That was some fun sports or leisure right there.
Yeah, absolutely. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Celebrating 2014 is what the Royals are doing this weekend, tonight, and this weekend as well, with some cool celebrations. You know, you can do that and just enjoy some baseball. The Monarchs going on tonight with their home opener. We gave away some tickets to the Monarchs earlier in the show. You can hear that game right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB starting at 6:35. Winnipeg heading to town to lose to the Monarchs tonight. 913-381-0810. Let's bring in Lindsay next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Lindsay, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
I just want to keep singing to Sterling, man, even though it's not his birthday anymore.
Oh, my gosh. You are a sweetheart.
Absolutely. I can tell that. Are you just going to keep singing, like, as in finish the lyrics singing to him?
I assume that's what he was asking
I assumed that's what he was, too. I just didn't want there to be any confusion.
I'm not singing the whole song, guys. I'll finish the lyric. I apologize.
No, you're good. I'll let you sing
I want you to sing the whole song.
Standing in the rain with his head hung low. He couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show. He heard the roar of the crowd. He could picture the scene, put his ear to the wall, and like a...
distant scream.
Bam! There we go. He's a jukebox hero. Good job, Lindsay.
That's not how they say jukebox hero in the song. He doesn't just say jukebox hero. That seems pretty straight.
I wasn't going to sing it.
Okay,
but,
I was seeing if I could prod you into doing that. All right, Lindsay, sports side, we got General Royals, and we have specific 2014 Royals questions that are about the entire season, some postseason thrown in there, but just a mixture there of the specific 2014 team. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking old General Royals, please.
All right, General Royals for you. Let's go with this one. Vinny Pasquantino had his career-high 5 RBI night. God, that was like 3 weeks ago. Oddly enough, he's never had a 4 RBI game. He had a 3 RBI game and then a 5 RBI game. After George Brett, what Royal holds the team record for 4 RBI games? I figured Brett was sort of the free space since, played for so long and had so many RBIs. But after George Brett, this Royal, second most all-time with 30 games in which he drove in 4 runs. 30 games he drove in 4 runs. Means he probably
after Brett, correct?
Yep. So Brett was first. He didn't have to play after Brett, but Brett was first, and we're just eliminating Brett from this because to me, I would assume that Brett would be the first guess, right?
Yeah.
Like any all-time RBI, whatever you want to throw in there.
It's not him, is
I
it?
would guess it. No, it's not. No, he didn't have to play after Brett.
Yeah,
it's just he's second in line after Brett for the most 4 RBI games, 30 of them in his career.
All for the Royals?
All for the Royals.
Okay.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I know I'm going to get this wrong probably. I'm just going to guess a rando guy. Give me Steve Balboni.
It was not Balboni.
Oh, bye-bye Balboni.
But it was around the same time with the Royals. Lindsay, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, have a good rest of your day, okay?
Yeah, you do the same, man. 913-381-0810 is the phone number.
Bye-bye Balboni is
Bye,
always a great
Balboni.
guess.
That was what the original
Why have we
song
done
was.
that? We should have done...
The song was written about Balboni. Did you not know that?
This should be a really good category going forward,
true.
is music about this player. So bye would be bye Balboni.
Or just music that was written and inspired by certain sports, like Lord Royal was inspired by this Royals team.
Yeah, I like mine better, but I think you're onto something too.
Hey, yours is fine if you want to have the, second place finisher of cool ideas.
Silver.
Yeah, you can get the silver medal for
unless
being
we
a
hear
tool.
we hear a better idea back there. I don't know if we will.
Nah. Well, I was just going by. He just shook his head. He just said no. He said no. It's like, all right, well, I don't know. Not really sure, man. All All right, let's give out the answers to questions we did not get answers to. Do you have any over there?
No, everyone always gets mine.
This was one that I didn't really expect everyone to always get yours. The only question we do not have an answer to for my questions
Ooh, can we guess? Or
was
no?
that specific question right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, you can guess. 30 games of 4 RBIs. 4 RBI games, 30 of them. George Brett has the most. Vinny now has, Vinny still has 0.
Yeah. You didn't double down with Hal McRae, did you?
Oh, I doubled down with Hal McRae.
You did double down with Hal McRae.
I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened to be that Hal McRae was the answer to both of those. Because Bobby Witt's on pace, right around on pace to be with Hal McRae's team record for a single season of extra base hits of 86. There were a couple of other questions in here, but that was just the next one in line.
Yeah.
Wanted to go with that one. I painted the duck blue because I wanted to see a blue duck.
It was either Hal McRae or my original thought was Mike Sweeney originally, because Mike Sweeney played so long for the Royals, and I know those teams weren't great, but he would get a lot of RBIs.
He had the only RBIs on that team, on those teams. Probably.
They left him for him. It was
I remember with the Royals pregame, always it was, you had the pick to click. And then at the end of the season, you added up and see who won with the hosts and the different guests we had on.
Sure.
And I think it was a rule, like, you could use Sweeney, like, once every 2 weeks. So it was like the Sweeney rule, like your pick to click, and they would keep track of, nope, you use Sweeney on this date. You can't use Mike Sweeney until this date.
Give me Desi Relaford.
So there were so many games where, like, nobody picked Mike Sweeney, and it's like, none of you picked Mike Sweeney as your pick to click, you idiot. Well, yeah, because that would be the first, whoever had the first selection that night, every game.
Yeah.
It would be Mike Sweeney pick to click. So there was the Sweeney rule. He was so much far and away better than the others in that time frame. They had 4 straight years of 100 losses.
Yeah.
That happens.
Felt like more.
It did feel like more. Well, there is no more of this show left for today. Program up next.